Santa Claus, here comes Santa Claus, right down Santa Claus. Yeah, it's an industry and all this. Oh, Christmas tree, 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 oh, Christmas tree. Here we are, oh, Christmas tree, oh, Christmas tree. Okay. Whoa. All right, everybody. You stay here. Listen, you watch Donner. And dance or you check after, what's his name over there? Dasher, all right? I'll be back soon. I'm going to have to shovel this being late for his mom and dad. Lovely night. Merry Christmas, Blake.
Hey, Dion. Just in time. I was just about to sit down and tickle the old ivories.
Oh, look at this. You've got the tree trimmed. You've got the eggnog out. You've got the fire going. You've got some, is this warm cider, apple cider you have over here?
Yeah. Pour yourself a glass.
Wow, that's really nice.
Let's sing some Christmas carols.
Wow, it just reminds me of those days when we used to have white Christmases and stuff. It just brings back such a heart. It just really wants you to make you to want to sing and do some things.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let your heart be light, Dion.
From now on, our troubles will be out of sight.
Yeah. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Make the Yuletide
gay.
Make it gay. From now on, our troubles will be
miles away. A little harmonizing there. Here we are, as in olden days.
As in olden days.
Happy golden days.
Happy
days of yore.
Days of
friendly friends.
Well, Dion, it's
Merry Christmas, everybody.
It caught me by surprise, Dion. I didn't expect you to come in.
Well, why don't you come on over here? You gonna sit there and tickle the ivories all night long?
Yeah, hold on a second. Give me 1 second. I'll be right there.
All right, you stretch out a little bit. I'm gonna pour myself some eggnog. It's funny. I do have to acknowledge last week, the last time we were here doing the podcast. It was the Thanksgiving episode, and we were having a good time, and I don't really drink anymore. And then, what ended up happening was my parents left the liquor cabinet unlocked. So I grabbed the old smuggler. So I was drinking during that last episode, so I hope it wasn't evident near the end of it. Blake and I have some fond memories of the old smuggler. When I
smuggler.
Yeah, and then I said to him, "You want to sip?" You're like, "No, no, no." And since I don't really have a tolerance anymore, I think it went right to my head. So we were getting a little too festive.
I'm going to keep the eggnog unspiked today.
Oh, that's a shame. Why am I drinking this? Well, Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, everybody. Welcome to Saturday Night Movie Sleepovers.
My name is Jay Blake, and with me, as always, is the great Dion Baia.
Howdy. And we're here to make the Yuletide gay.
As they say.
We want to make it so gay, it's going to come out. And it's going to be gay. It's going to be so happy, everybody. So, here we are, back in olden days. That's a nice fire you got roaring there, and the tree looks great trimmed. I'll tell you that, Blake.
Got my got my star on top.
Yeah, you got your Megatron star up there.
Got my Turbo Man under the
You got your Turbo Man under there.
the tree.
Got your Shredder. It's fighting Shredder and Optimus Prime. Makes me want to sing. Silent.
Hold on, let me get back to the piano.
Oh, yeah, go over to the piano again. No, we kid everybody. We're just having a nice jovial night by the fire over Blake's penthouse suite overlooking Bryant Park. It's a great night. The wind's nice in the city, a little snow. It's 1955.
The year 1955.
And we're just all chillaxing here tonight. So, we're here. We did a couple weeks ago a belated Thanksgiving episode, which was very fun and exciting. And redefined the way people look at
Transformers.
Transformers. Still one of our top rated episodes, Transformers the movie. And this go around, I was like, hey, Blake, have you heard of an old movie called Jingle All the Way?
This is our second Arnold movie of the year.
Which was the first
We
one?
did Last Action Hero.
Oh, we did. Yeah. Him and John Belushi together.
Together again.
Together again. Yeah, this is the same one. This is fun. This is a movie for me that I had never seen when it came out because I was, we were seniors in college, and I actually worked at a toy store at the time.
Well, in high school. We were seniors in high school.
I'm sorry, in high school, yes. We were seniors in high school, 97, 96, 97. So when this came out in November of 96, I didn't see it. And it was for years I never saw it because I just thought it looked silly. And I still haven't seen movies like Junior. I've seen Kindergarten Cop. Love that movie. It's, seen it a couple times. It has been like 25 years probably. Twins, I think I've seen when it came out.
Yeah.
But I wasn't up on the...
I saw Twins at the movies on like a Sunday night. I remember that because we had school the next day. It was weird.
Empty theater, right? A lot of elderly people.
It was at the mall, so when we came out, the mall was kind of empty because, the mall closes at like 5:30 on a Sunday.
Yeah. Like, get out of here. What the hell are you doing here? Oh, you're seeing Twins.
And I'm pretty sure I saw Kindergarten Cop at the movies as well. And then, I don't know. I might not have seen an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie until Eraser at the movies after those.
Sure.
I mean, I saw
Eraser.
T2, but I don't remember what year those other ones we're talking about came out.
Well, I didn't see Junior, and I haven't seen Junior. I didn't see Last Action Hero in the theaters. I hadn't seen this movie, and then Eraser was probably that, and then End of Days were the two movies I saw in the theater of him. And then I don't know if I've seen it. Have I seen it? I might not have seen an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie in the theater since then. Oh no, we saw Terminator 3 together.
Yeah, we saw Terminator 3 on July 4th.
You bet my arm. So, this was a movie I hadn't seen for years until like 10, 15 years ago. I gave it a shot, and I enjoyed it. It reminded me of my days working at the toy store because this is almost like a documentary in some aspects for what I saw.
You worked at a K&B?
No, Toy Works, which is owned by KB Toys. But it's funny because they say that in this movie. They're like, we're going to Toy Works. And that's where I worked at the time. And it didn't look like what it looked like inside that movie. And they weren't wearing the same shirts. But I worked at a Toy Works for maybe 2 years, like junior and senior year of high school. Then we went to college, and I came back, and they didn't have a job for me. And that's when I started working at the country club I worked at. And then eventually I ended up working at a video store for the last couple of years of college, which was fun, which we talk about here. But the toy store experience for me was I was there when the N64 debuted, when the Tickle Me Elmo debuted, Tamagotchi came out, and like the Star Fox, I think it is, like all that kind of stuff was there. So I saw the bedlam in people's faces for all those those items when those things came out, because certainly the 64 and the Tickle Me Elmos were like insane. People wanting them, So it was a scary experience. I was in the wars back then.
This is a first-time watch for me. I have never seen this movie. Yeah. And we should mention that for everybody playing at home, that for this viewing, we decided to watch the extended cut
Well, I've got a bone to pick with that because I had the family pack. And then the other night before we watched it together, I was trying to find where it was on the family pack. And I was in the bedroom. And in the bedroom, we don't have a Blu-ray player. We only have a DVD player because the Blu-ray player died. So I had a Blu-ray copy of it in the fun pack. I have a DVD copy of it in the fun pack. And I have a digital copy in the fun pack. That's how old this thing is. Took the DVD out, put it in, and it said, do you want to watch a theatrical or extended version? And I put an extended version. And then when you look at the time code is right, where it's like over like an hour and a half, 92 minutes maybe. But it was the theatrical version. And then I was like, where the hell are all the extra scenes? So then I came out here at 3 a.m, all pissed off, put it into Blu-ray. And I looked, and the Blu-ray has extended version. And when you put the Blu-ray on, it has everything all mixed in. So luckily we watched it tonight together again because
we had to watch it. You watched it the theatrical before you watched it.
Yeah, exactly. I ended up watching the theatrical version first. And now,
dedication,
it's like
man. Watched it twice.
The things we do for this podcast.
Of all the movies to have to watch twice.
All the movies. Yeah. Back to back. I mean, I do yearly.
Man, she got a medal for that.
But anyhow, yeah. So we watched the unrated version, the NC-17 version.
It's too hot for theaters.
Yeah, it was Verhoeven had directed it. Ooh. Was there a lot of weird stuff going on in social commentary and commercials and grotesque nudity.
This was around. Sidebar. This was right around the Showgirls, right?
Yeah. This is 96. This is around like Ransom, First Contact. What else was there that beat it out at the time?
Space
There's
Jam.
Another movie too. Space Jam. Yeah, Space Jam was huge because they had a huge marketing campaign. I've never seen to this day Space Jam, but we had a lot of toys. Either. I saw the one after it, Looney Tunes Back in Action, and I really enjoyed that one. There's a lot of callbacks to like the early like 50s, 40s era, and they have like Dick, what's his name in it, from Gremlins,
Oh yeah, well that one might have been done by Dante. I don't know.
Yeah, and it was great because there's so many cues to like or references to old like 50s sci-fi movies, and he brought in a lot of people to cameo. So that was actually very fun. I think what's his face, Brendan Fraser helmed that with. I forget who the female lead was, but that was good. But I never saw Space Jam or the second one they just came out with. It's another basketball movie.
More Space Jam.
Yeah, but so this is circa 96, which is funny, and this movie deals with a lot of the stuff you see happening. I guess you would probably say starting in the 80s into the 90s of the crazes for people getting toys. And I can remember as a child that the Cabbage Patch Kid craze was so, all you see the footage on the like 5 o'clock news of people going crazy trying to get these things that my parents, my mom and my aunt couldn't get one. So what they ended up doing, which was, hear me out, everybody, it ended up turning out awesome. But they had like the Good Housekeeping magazines and the sewing book magazines when I was little. So they made us both, my cousin and me, a Cabbage Patch, and it came out awesome because it looked like it. And they did the way you did the head is very heavy, but it was made out of material, but it would still look exactly like a Cabbage Patch Kid. And we have it to this day.
Bocce ball in the head to keep the shape.
Yeah, just to beat somebody. So my mom bootlegged. She made from scratch a Cabbage Patch Kid.
Nice.
But I do remember getting like Optimus Prime for Christmas, and my dad was telling me like he had to go to
Optimus Prime in the basement.
No, he went to the tool shed. Took apart the old Chevy.
This is like made out of wood.
Huge. Yeah, it's like a go-kart, an old go-kart. It turns into transform. But he said he had to go to like 5 or 6 stores to get the Optimus Prime. I remember, and then like when we were Ninja Turtles was big. I remember nobody had a shredder. You couldn't find a shredder.
Yeah, there was one Christmas that Turtles were big. Santa delivered on that Christmas. I think I got all. I got all 4 of them. I'm trying to think if I did eventually have Shredder. I'm trying to think if I got him that year or not.
You'd always have like Yojimbo would always be there, and God bless his cotton socks, that little Yojimbo. But he was always there, and maybe like April O'Neil.
Yeah, it had an April,
and like Michelangelo. But you couldn't find a Shredder. So this was something that people used to have to deal with, and it got to the point where, like I said, I can go into some stories later, but the 64 craze and the Tickle Me Elmo craze in the 90s, up to the point where I entered the news business after college and work in television news. And I remember in the mid 2000s, someone died in like Queens or Long Island at a Black Friday morning. People were running in to get something, and someone got trampled to death. and they had to have security now, and this is just stuff gets crazy, you know, especially nowadays. I mean, you think this movie, like I said, looks like a documentary. The people are physically fighting and macing each other and stuff like that these days. So very topical for the holiday season. Commercialism.
Very festive.
Yeah, very, very festive. Oh, gosh. So, yes, you had never seen this, right?
That's true.
And you're always up for an Arnie movie.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and what are your thoughts coming into this?
Well, I have to admit, I was not expecting much going into it.
Of course.
And I'm not going to lie, I didn't love it, but I thought it was fine. You know, it was a fun watch to sit back with my pal Dion and watch an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie I'd never seen before. It's funny, the most recent, as of this recording, the most recent like iTunes, Apple podcast review is someone saying, I can always tell when Blake doesn't like the movie because he seems like he feels guilty. I was like, I didn't realize I was hiding the fact that I didn't like some of the movies that we did, but I do try to, you know, I try to look on the bright side of life.
Always stay on the bright side of the street.
And it was fine. You know, I think this movie, without a doubt, is problematic for a lot of reasons. But, yeah, I had fun watching it. You know, it's fine. It's not going to go down as like a yearly Christmas tradition for me. But
it ain't no Ernest Saves Christmas for you.
It's no Last Christmas is in my tradition. One December Night with Bruce Campbell and Peter Gallagher, Hallmark movie. That's a yearly event for me.
Sure.
But, yeah, I mean, I think the biggest issue for this one is, like, who is it made for? You know, I think that's kind of it's very cartoony, so it has a very strange cartoony tone, but the subject matter would be much more relatable to the parents than the kids. So it's like a grown-ups topic-wise, it's like a grown-ups movie, but tonally it's definitely a kids movie. So I mean, I think that's its biggest flaw, is that it just doesn't really understand who its audience who it wants its audience to be. But you know, with that said, I think some of the cartoon humor works, even if it's kind of bizarre at times.
Well, I think when they really jump the gun there is when they jump the shark is when the bomb goes off with Robert Conrad. And then you know you're kind of in wacko town. They really, that third act.
Yeah. You definitely know that you're not in reality anymore.
Yeah.
And the other issue is, like, nobody's likable.
Yeah.
That's the other big problem. And I can get over that for
I like the kid
for a movie like this.
Anakin Skywalker. I liked him in it. Yeah, Anakin Scarwater. I loved him in it. I think he did a really good job, because sometimes I feel like the clunch in these movies is like the child actor, if they're going to be good or not. We've both talked about the Shining TV movie where it's like the kid is kind of problematic for me. But then you get like Danny Lloyd from the original Shining, and he's amazing. If you got a good kid.
I'll say this about Arnold in it. His character loves selling furniture.
Oh, yeah, he does.
He's skipping the holiday party at the office. He's really willing to take it down to the wire to get to his kid's karate class, all because of his passion for selling furniture.
Yeah, trying to get all those sales done. And he's always letting everybody down. You know who I love in this movie is Phil Hartman.
Yeah, but even really, I mean, like, he's likable because it's Phil Hartman playing that character, but that character is like the biggest comeback.
I know, but that's the point. It's like, he's like great. It's so funny. Like from the beginning, they just set him up as this complete, you know, now that dad's single, and he's like going after once he like conquers a woman on the block, he doesn't want to have anything to do with him anymore. It's really funny. I think because I've had multiple viewings of this movie, we watch every couple of years. I've got a fondness for it. And it is wacky at times, and certainly like the whole last scene where he's like flying, like, you know, a la the Rocketeer around everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, it's zany.
Yeah, you gotta,
but
you just have to kind of roll with it.
Yeah, and then like at the end of it, I was thinking when we were watching, I was like, my God, you think of how many laws Schwarzenegger's character broke this day doing this stuff, and then he still kind of wins by the most impossible, means. It's extraordinary, And we love Sinbad.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you. I forget what other movies Sinbad are in.
The only movie off the top of my head that I can think of, which I did see at the theater, was Necessary Roughness.
Is he in that?
Scott Bakula.
Yeah.
Classic.
Is he one of the football players?
I think he's one of the football players, yeah. The whole part of that movie is these people come back to college to play football. I don't remember why.
Probably to be like what do they call those things? Like hustlers or spikes? What do they call those people?
Like Scott Bakula, him are older, but they come to college to play football for some reason.
What do they call them? Not red herrings. Ringers. They're ringers.
No, it's like Scott Bakula is like a farmer. I don't remember why. It's been so long since I've seen. I'm sure somebody out there listening can call in and
our phone lines are open.
Explain the plot to Necessary Roughness for us.
That reminds me of a movie near and dear to my heart, which I would actually be bold enough to try to pitch to do on this show. Is you ever see Ladybugs?
Jonathan Brandis?
Yeah, I love that
the
movie.
Late great
Rodney Dangerfield. Where it's I don't know if it's politically correct these days or what's everything going on, but it's like, he can't win with the soccer team, so he just gets a bunch of boys to dress up as girls and play him as girls to win they're winning the whole championship. And then everyone realizes at the end, I think this is the plot, that they've got ringers.
This is the part of the show where
we all speculate.
We speculate to the plots of movies from our teens and childhood.
I like that, because then at the end, Tommy Lasorda makes a cameo, and he's got a bunch of ringers on his team. All his team are boys too, and like, what does with cheap wigs on and stuff. But that was back then. You can't do stuff like that anymore. But yeah, this was an odd one. I guess Schwarzenegger was looking to do another comedy. He had done 3. He'd always want to do comedic stuff in a way. I will grant you that at sometimes, it's hard to see Arnold reacting. I think sometimes his acting prowess is better in other movies, and this movie, at times I was like, oh, you got to just roll with it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, because of the weird cartoonish tone of this movie, that didn't really bother me. I mean, it's, once you accept the fact that he's supposed to be this everyday suburban American dad, but he's got the Arnold accent, and even when he's an immigrant. Turbo Man, he talks with it, and nobody recognizes that it's
not even his kids or his wife when he's talking on a PA speaker. Could you just kind of
accept him as that part? The fact that his cartoonish reactions are maybe, I don't know, not as good as somebody else's cartoonish reactions would be. I don't know. It's that honestly, that didn't bother me, because I kind of knew what I was getting into with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Him as a person doesn't bother me in the movie. It's some of the scenes, his delivery of lines. I think they could have did another take or so. That's all I mean. Because some of the physicality, I think, lends perfectly to his physique and his person. Because some of the what ifs in this movie were maybe Tim Allen or some other people like a Steve Martin. And I think it'd be hard to have other people doing the physicality in this and have it be kind of believable. I mean, of course, they throw a stuntman in. But I mean, you just see these people. I think one of the points, I guess, to emphasize the commercialization is how sinister and just abusive people can be towards their fellow man when they're trying to do this stuff. So, you see some real amazing pratfalls, kind of like we see in Home Alone and all that kind of a thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure it's probably Home Alone kind of probably set a precedent for
the physicality.
Yeah, something like this, I think.
Yeah.
It worked in there. Let's do it in this movie. Yeah.
And you got Chris Columbus on board too.
Chris Columbus, did we do Home Alone on this show? I can't remember.
That's funny you say that, Blake, because I was asking the wife last night. I said to the wife,
wife,
have we done Home Alone? Wife, have we done Home Alone on the podcast? And she looked it up and she couldn't find it. She's like, I could have swore.
She's the secretary of the podcast. She takes the notes at the meeting.
she takes the minutes. And I said, "Wife, have we done Home Alone?" And she looked it up and she couldn't find it. And she's like, "I swear you did." And I was like, "I swear I did too." But then I thought, like, would we have gotten Mike Morona to come on or something like that?
Would he have done it? I don't know. We could ask.
He sat in with us for the Enter the Dragon podcast. You know, a Mike Morona from Pete and Pete fame, who we went to college with, great guy, who was also in Home Alone 1 and 2. But I don't think we've done Home Alone. So it was funny because leading up to this, I was like, what the hell are we going to do this season? What are we going to do? And then Blake had to give me some, he poured something into a handkerchief. He goes, "Does this smell like chloroform?" And then I said, "Yes." And then I woke up 15 minutes later. I was like, I feel much better now. And he was like, he had some smelling salts that he broke in front of my nose. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe just Jingle All the Way is an easy one. It's not going to be too crazy. We're not going to do a 6-hour podcast on it and stuff. But thinking about it afterward, I was like, yeah, we haven't done Home Alone. There's a couple other big movies we haven't touched on that we could probably, rock out to pretty hard on this as a Christmas episode.
We did do Christmas Vacation, right?
Yes. We did Christmas Vacation, Christmas Story. We've done the Lethal Weapon, the Invasion USA, Die Hard.
Ernest Saves Christmas. Santa Claus the movie.
Yes, the one from '86 with Dudley Moore. We did Emmett Otter. We've done Star Wars Holiday Special.
Classic.
We've done Classic, our best episode. We've done Black Christmas, which I just caught the end of the other night on the television, and boy, is that movie good! Caught the last 20 minutes. A whole Canadian Helen production with good old Bob Clark, and I'll tell you, man, I was at the edge of my seat.
That movie's great.
And then the wife said, "Husband," and I said, "Yes, wife." And she said, "Turn this off if this is Black Christmas, because we need to watch it from the beginning."
I also really like the remake.
I watched
not
the
like
remake.
the most recent reimagining of it that came out a few years ago by Blumhouse, but the one from 2005 or whenever that came out.
Yeah, I remember enjoying it when it came out, and then I remember seeing a clip on Instagram that horrified me. And I looked and it said it was from Black Christmas. I was like, oh my God, the remake of it. So, and then we did
another TV movie or something that you liked.
We did the night they saved Christmas with Art Carney and Jacqueline Smith, which was very enjoyable, and the great Paul Williams. That's going way down the alley. Let's see. We haven't. No, yeah. So, and then I feel like we've done Charlie Brown. We did the Charlie Brown Christmas special.
Yeah, last year. Right? That's what we did last year.
Yeah, maybe. And then we haven't done like a Muppet Family Christmas yet. We haven't done.
Well, we did do the Muppet one that you like.
Did we do the Muppet Family Christmas?
I think we did.
Oh, maybe we did. Because I know we did like that's the other thing I forget. Sometimes we've come and done these specials where we talk back and forth of like hey, you name a couple, I name a couple.
Sidecast type thing.
Yeah, and I feel like we could have brought this up in and then we think, oh, we've talked about it already. Because then the wife was like, "Husband, I think you might have done it on the pod with your last show." I was like, "No, we haven't talked. We didn't talk about stuff like that. That would have been sidecast." So I don't know.
Maybe we did do it on the sidecast.
Yeah, maybe we did a holiday recommendations one. So,
anyway.
But Jingle All the Way, 1996.
Directed by Brian Levant.
Yes, who went on to do the sequel to Christmas Story in 2012, which I think I remember seeing, and I didn't like as much as the most recent retelling.
Yeah, he did Flintstones, the movie.
Yeah, which was big when it came out, I remember. That adaptation.
Chris Columbus, we talked about. We did Adventures in Babysitting.
Yep.
Which he directed, I think.
Baby's Day Out.
He did something with Goonies, too. Didn't we? We did Goonies. Did we do Goonies?
Yeah. We did Goonies.
So this is the part of the show where we try to remember what we've done so far.
Yeah, what we've done already, and what we're related to all of our staff and producers are off tonight because it's Christmas time, and I'm only just lounging on Blake's settee
what else?
by the fire.
Something else he did that we talked about on the show. He wrote one of my favorite movies of all time, Young Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
Gremlins.
I feel like he
wrote Gremlins, which we did.
Yeah, we did Gremlins, and I feel like he was connected to a movie or two we did. Then he didn't direct it. Maybe he just wrote.
Yeah, like Gremlins and
yeah, something to that effect. Or I don't know if he helmed anything. Like, did he do Dutch?
No. Who directed Dutch? I know that what's his face wrote it. John,
and did he have anything to do
John
with planes, trains, and automobiles? Yeah, John Larroquette.
He didn't direct.
Holy cow! That's a hit. The Money Store does it again. Wow. I feel like he was connected to some other holiday movies. Directed Dutch.
He wrote Dutch. I don't know who directed Dutch.
Because we've done Dutch for Thanksgiving before.
Dutch. No, Peter Feynman directed
Peter
Dutch.
O'Toole. A drunk Peter O'Toole directed Dutch. Do it again. So anyway, we're doing Jingle All the Way tonight.
Which one are we doing?
Jingle All the Way. 1990, not to be confused with Jingle All the Way 2 from 2014 or so. Larry the Cable Guy. Yeah, I was doing a TV show that he was coming on because he was promoting some reality show, and I remember him telling me that he was going the next day to start filming Jingle All the Way 2. I was like, huh, really? And then that was the last I heard about it. And then I heard, I was like, oh, because I never saw it. And I guess it has no real connection to this as a sequel.
Yeah, did you know, maybe we brought this up on an early episode of the show, that if I recall correctly, that there's a Kindergarten Cop 2?
I don't remember.
Directed,
that. Who's it, like I don't Bruce know. Campbell or something, or Billy Drago?
Dolph Lundgren, I think, plays the lead.
That's like the Substitute movies,
Which, by the way, I've been watching for the first time.
The Substitutes?
Yeah, I watched the first one. I've watched the
Treat
second
Williams?
one with Treat.
Yeah, and there's a third one too with I forget who.
Treat is in. I think Treat.
It Treat's in the
Treat
third
does
too?
like 2 or 3 of them.
Wow, God bless his cotton socks.
So I'm too into the Substitute series.
Yeah. Now you got to watch The Principal with Lou Gossett
that
Jr.
one
and
I've
Jim
seen.
Belushi. I was going to say. And then do the old stand.
We're going to do a whole.
Lean on
We'll
Me.
do Substitute. We'll do The Principal. We'll do
Class 84.
Lean on Me.
High. Lean on Me.
Dangerous Minds.
Do freaking Boys
Stand
in the Hood
and
187. Yeah. Do them all. So, Jingle All the Way.
Oh yeah.
Jingle All the Way. Sadly, one of Phil Hartman's last movies. Phil Hartman ended up, this is the last theatrical movie that was released while Phil Hartman was still alive. He was killed the following year in 98. And then posthumously, they had released Small Soldiers, which I only saw once, but I enjoyed. And then a movie we talked about on a Christmas sidecast we did was, it's Chauncey and, what's the name of this movie? It's a really weird movie that came out, and I brought it up because I had never heard of it, and it's only like 45 minutes long, and it's I think it's called Chauncey and what the hell the name of the damn thing? But evidently it's Chauncey and something Silent Night. I'll figure out the name. But it's Phil Hartman doing the. We went out of there. Our notes are all out of order today because we have nobody else.
Dropped our notebooks on the way up.
Yeah, and it's all wet. So, but it's like Chauncey and something Silent Night or something. It's the story of Silent Night, but he did a voice in that, and that came out either the same year or after Small Soldiers. But since it's only like 48 minutes and it came and went, it's one of those in the late 90s. They had a lot of that animated movies that would just come and go. It was one of those. So it was a nice movie, and I brought it up when we did a sidecast on Christmas movies early on. So that's in somewhere because I was like, oh, who knew? But yeah, the late great Phil Hartman's in this. You have Tom Hanks' wife,
Rita Wilson.
You got Schwarzenegger. You have Jake Lloyd is his name. What's the boy's name?
Yeah, I think that's his name.
Who went on to do the Phantom Menace? He's Anakin in the Phantom Menace. And you have a lot of funny cameos in this movie. I mean, you have like Harvey Korman at the beginning, and Richard Mole from Night Court, in the TV show at the beginning, and you have, of course, the great Robert Conrad. You have so many, just Jim Belushi, Troy Vern, I think, shows up in a cameo.
Vern Troyer.
Vern Troy. I said Troy Vern.
Vern. Martin Mull.
Yeah.
The great Curtis Armstrong shows up.
Curtis Armstrong. You said Martin Mull. You have a lot of funny, kind of weird, cameos, which is just funny in this movie. That like, oh, I recognize that guy. And then you have, of course, Sinbad, who I think does a good role in this movie. He's pretty funny. I mean, he goes a little wild and he's eating up the scenery quite a bit. But Some of the stuff I was laughing at when he maces Schwarzenegger in the face, or when he's like getting beat up, and he's like Rodney King, because that was, of course, very,
it's so crazy that became like a joke in the 90s.
Yeah, it became a. You have, let's see, Lorena Newman in the movie as well. She's at the beginning as the the president's wife in it, and you have Chris Parnell in his first role, who goes on to do Saturday Night Live. So you have a lot of really funny people just showing up, and like if you're not looking hard enough, like you'll miss Harvey Korman right at the beginning there.
Now the she's not even listed here on the credits, but from what I read, you can confirm that because I don't have her name here. But she was the woman who voices Lisa on The Simpsons.
Oh, Yardley Smith is her name, maybe?
She, but she's in a scene that's not in the theatrical cut, right?
Yeah, and that's her second appearance on the show this year because she was just on Maximum Overdrive.
She returned.
Yeah. She's funny. She plays so the movie we watched, the extended movie, has about, I don't know, say 6 minutes of extra scenes, and then what I've come to learn, evidently the theatrical version ends at the parade, and then that's the credits. And I think if you sat around and watched the entire credits, I think after the credits, you have this scene at the house, them putting the star on in the little coda, which I find hilarious, which left open to a sequel. And I was like, oh, I'd love to see a sequel for this. But in the unrated version,
you may be the only person that has ever said that.
I'm sticking with it. And they did make me a sequel, but it was completely unrelated. I was like, come on, you dropped so much.
I was just yesterday, I was pitching a sequel to this movie to a former 20th Century Pictures executive, where Hayden Christensen plays Jake Lloyd's character as a grown-up.
Okay, I'm with you.
So you get the second Anakin. Plays Jamie Langston in a sequel trying to buy a gift for his kid, and you have Grandpa Arnold and Grandma Rita.
The old Phil Hartman movie I was saying was Buster and Shaughnessy's Silent Night from 1998, and so that scene I think in the extended version is put on a little more appropriately before the credits, after the parade fades out. They put that little coda on.
The thing that really stuck out to me, which in reading the notes, you can also be the one that confirms this since you're the expert. You're
on this fucking movie.
World's foremost expert on Jingle All the Way.
Years of scholarly. I'm a Rhodes Scholar.
Is that there's the montage where he's going around looking for the toy.
Yeah, everyone's laughing.
And in the expanded version, it's the Christmas song sung by Nat King Cole.
Yeah.
Which, when we watched it, in my head, I was like, this is a really strange choice for this scene. But from what I've read, that scene is actually, in the theatrical cut, has like Jingle All the Way as the song.
Yeah. Correct.
Because I just thought it was like,
it might even be the Sinatra's Jingle All the Way, or I feel like there was a Sinatra song in it I saw in the theatrical cut. I was like, oh, that's cool they're using this.
But I just felt like the Christmas song just seemed too melancholy for a montage where, like, I mean, it just, like, tonally, I thought it was a very strange choice. So I was actually kind of relieved to see that the theatrical cut had a different song for that part.
And we've seen now, as of this recording, I saw Schwarzenegger's in New York City in like a Christmas outfit doing a Christmas movie. So he's filming another Christmas movie. But Blake, do you remember offhand what other Christmas movie he's associated with? That I'm an avid fan of. Another avid fan of.
Okay, hold on. I didn't realize we were going to be.
I'll give you a hint. It takes place in my home state. And it's a trick question in a way, because I said he's involved in it.
Oh, yeah. He directed the
remake, the Christmas in Connecticut.
Christmas in Connecticut, that's right.
Yeah, with with what's her name, Diane Cannon, Chris Christopherson, Tony Curtis, and Richard Roundtree.
That is a hell of a cast.
Yeah, and he just directed that for like a TNT TV movie, and it's fun. You know, I mean, I love the original, of course, the Barbara Stanwyck one with everybody in that from not Sir Cedric Hardwicke. What's his face? From the Maltese Falcon and all those movies. Sidney Toller, not Sidney. Oh God, why can't my mind is mush these days? Sidney Greenstreet, thank you. He's in that. You know, but that's a great movie. But he did a pretty good job at the remake, and it's such an odd. It's like, you know, Eastwood doing like a romantic comedy, you know, and just by himself, like just directing it. It's just, you know, and that was his only. He directed an episode of Tales from the Crypt, of course.
Yeah, which we talked about.
Yeah, and probably the Tales from the Crypt, one of the episodes. Maybe the episode we did, the Television Terror Television, with Morton Downey Jr. Or
I remember us talking about that episode because it's one that really, besides the Morton Downey Jr. episode, that's probably the episode that stands out most in my memory for some reason. Because it's got that old guy.
Yeah. Yeah, he sounds like an old Gilbert.
We might have actually brought it up, oddly enough, in the Tales from the Dark Side episode, because he's in that.
Or the Christmas story, or Christmas Vacation episode, too, because he's in that as well. Well, we haven't done Pritzi's Honor yet. He's the mob boss in Pritzi's Honor. But that was, and then for me, the one that stuck out was the basketball one with the kid who's a basketball high school kid, and he goes to like his uncle's mortuary, and the guy beats him up and cuts his ankles off. It's real freaky at the end.
Anyway,
Tales from the Crypt.
Jingle all the way.
Jingle all the way. So basically, the premise of the movie is our man Arnold, whose name in the movie is Howard Langston,
who shall not be named,
who shall not go unnamed. He waited to the last minute, like all of us, to get Christmas presents, and he forgot that he was supposed to get the most popular toy of the season, the Turbo Man, which is kind of a play on of course, at the era of the Power Rangers that were out at the time, which I think Blake and I, you're in agreement, we were kind of really too old for that. They were on like the weekdays when I would come home, but I couldn't say I ever watched any, or I never got any of the toys.
I definitely didn't have the toys. I occasionally watched it because as the return listeners may know, I didn't have cable, so I didn't have Saved by the Bell on 4 different channels when I got home from school. So I would sometimes
on Fox.
I would sometimes watch Power Rangers because it was on in the afternoon.
You were fighting out of Mr. Rogers, and you're like, I'll go with Power Rangers.
And I'm not gonna lie, I had a crush on the Pink Ranger,
Red Ranger,
Amy Jo Johnson or whatever. I can't remember what her name is now, but. But yeah, I never had the toys. We were definitely. I watched it sometimes, but I admittedly was kind of too old to be watching it at that point. I have come to love the Japanese Spider-Man TV show,
which we've talked about here.
Which is very much a predecessor to that kind of show. But back in the 70s with a man in a Spider-Man costume called Spider-Man, but not the Peter Parker Spider-Man that we all know and love.
We did an episode on that where we covered all Spider-Man in, like, I think other mediums like television. Covered we did the the 70s American TV show. We did maybe the cartoons, but then we also focused on the Japanese version. We talked about it. And then, if I remember correctly, the intro into that episode was the Japanese theme song, which
Spider-Man.
is amazing. Yeah, and it's so catchy. We played the whole minute and a half before we even played the 60s version too, the swinging version. But clearly Turbo Man is a knockoff on the Power Rangers craze that was happening at the time. Not so much a Ninja Turtle, but going to that way, or like a Flash or Rocketeer it was definitely kind of in the original script, the outline and stuff was obviously inspired by the Cabbage Patch Kid fiasco, debacle of the 80s, that one Christmas where everybody went crazy. But didn't the writer have a story where he had a family that were trying to find Power Ranger figures? That was Chris Columbus. So he ended up.
Chris Columbus was trying to find a Buzz Lightyear. Which was when I worked at the toy store too. Those were hard to get. Yeah. So I think he wasn't around for the Cabbage Patch Kid fiasco. But if people go online and look it up, YouTube, you'll see local news segments of
news shows seeing footage of people destroying themselves, trying to get a Cabbage Patch figure with like the employees standing on the freaking counters, like, everyone please settle down, like with a bullhorn, and then like throwing like lotto tickets out or something like that.
But I think I saw that.
But I think you're right. The director at the time he had a relative trying to get
maybe Randy Cornfield, who directed it, had some family were trying to, like, his in-laws or somebody was trying to find the Power Ranger figures for Christmas that year for a youngster, and he witnessed some of this happen. This kind of thing happening.
And then Columbus had heard this stuff, and then he had the experience where when Toy Story came out, he was trying to get the Buzz Lightyear figure for his son or a child, and he couldn't get it either. And that was something that would happen. I remember when we'd open these boxes, I was around when they reissued those Star Wars figures before the Phantom Menace and all them came out. But when they reissued those computerized versions of like The First Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, they put all those new toy figures out. You'd open a case up and you'd only get one, maybe Darth Vader, or I forget whoever the hot figure was, Han Solo and Carbonite. And then you'd have 12 or 14 other figures. So they really would, in a way, kind of set this up if you're looking for a particular figure, as opposed to like if you're looking like, say, a Turbo Man here, where it was like an N64 where it would just be flying off the shelves. I mean, this seems like a toy where there's maybe only 3 toys. There's the Turbo Man toy, the Destructor, or whatever the bad guy's name, the Richard Mole character's name is, and then you had the other side characters, Sleazy or Snoozy, whatever his name is, the pink tiger or whatever that thing is, that Curtis Armstrong plays. That was always on the shelf. So if you only have 3 or 4 characters that you're looking for, then it could be hard to find the one if everyone wants a Turbo Man. No, they're not going to be anywhere. So yeah, it became tough for people.
Did we do House? Did we ever do House on the show?
We did The Gate. We haven't done House.
Because Richard Mall is in House. That's why I was thinking of that. Of course, he would play Bull on Night Court, but
yeah, and I feel like he was in something else we did too, as a binary character showing up. It'll come to me when we tag the episode, because we'll have a tag of wherever else because we're always kind of diligent of who we tag. So if you search it,
I feel like he just passed away recently. 2023, October.
Did he die?
Yeah.
Oh, he did die. Yeah, you're right, because it's only down to John Larroquette and I forget who. There's one other person still alive, because the great Marky Post, who I absolutely love.
Roz is still alive, isn't she?
She's still alive. But then most recently, like last summer of 2023, I feel like the black actor died too.
Yeah.
He had just done something and he just died, which is really sad because I loved him. I forget, he's in something else in the 70s that we love. Maybe like a Blackula movie or something, or he's in the Mac. I forget what he's in, but he's awesome.
He's also in that guy who's like the black actor from Night Court. We're so vague in this episode.
I forget his name. We're not looking at anything. We're going off of memory, everybody, so I apologize. If memory serves, this is the episode title called.
You can literally hear the synapses firing in our brains as things come up. In the 80s, into the early 90s, but definitely in the late 80s, they would do these television movies where they would take, actors from all the television shows from the network and put them in a TV movie. And there was one about...
Not as the characters.
No, they're just like Alyssa Milano and the older brother from Mr. Belvedere. And,
before. Who cares? Sorry.
And the black guy from Night Court played the principal. And it was about getting your license and going to prom. And, so it was those kinds of things. And so, I always remember.
But he was in one?
I always remember he was either the principal or the driver's ed teacher or something. But what a weird and wonderful time we grew up in, Dion.
It sounds like an episode of Parker Lewis Can't Lose.
Well, yeah, there was all
or License to Drive, the TV series.
Yeah, I mean, there was always There's so many things that died off, but let's not get too far off topic here.
Yeah, as memory serves,
Jingle All the Way.
Tangent. yeah, I know. So we were still on the just the synopsis here, where it's just so Arnold's character Howard is Christmas Eve. He realizes that he's forgotten to get his son the hottest toy in the market, and he's already been letting his son down.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, first of all,
yeah. Let's cut in.
Rita Wilson knows that her husband is kind of like checked out and not reliable.
I'm surprised she's not even like trying to accuse him of an affair or something.
That would be totally valid. I would not.
He's married to his work.
I would be, like maybe he is. If Rita Wilson was like, I think he might be cheating on me. I was like, good point. But she knows she knows he's not going to remember to get that thing.
Well, do you think it's just because he's so... Are we supposed to allude to that maybe work has just gotten so busy this quarter or this year, and he's just trying to make all those sales before Christmas? So it was like a head up to the end of the Christmas season.
I mean...
and that's why he's so backed up, because the child said Yardley, or not Yardley. The kid said, like, hey, you've missed the last couple, but you used to come to all this stuff.
Well, I don't know if he said all this stuff. Arnold was like, well, I can't. I saw yellow. I saw the yellow belt.
But you missed blue.
I don't know. I think... I know you don't have a problem with Arnold's character in this movie, but I think he's not a great guy. And I would argue that he does not... There's not enough signs that he changes by the end to be redeemed. Sure, he puts the star up on the tree, but apparently he does that every year. I don't think he changed. I don't think he's learned his lesson, Dion.
No, I think it's one of those movies where, like, you can even go back to the slapstick movies where he just gets by the skin of his teeth. He makes it through before the doors closes, and he grabs his hat, and then he's ready, and then he thinks, "Ooh, okay, I survived this one." And then, like, it ends with, like, "Did you get me the present?" And it's like, dun dun dun. You know what I mean? It's like, it's going to keep going.
It's oddly enough, I was watching something on YouTube. I've been kind of, for the first time, like, really active YouTube watcher lately. And I went down like this Quentin Tarantino rabbit hole of him on things like the Joe Rogan show and stuff, talking about things. And there was a clip where, for clickbait purposes, it's like Quentin Tarantino tells you the difference between Chevy Chase movies and Bill Murray movies. So I clicked on it and I was watching it. But the context of the discussion was he was on how awful the 80s were for movies. In his opinion, the 50s and the 80s were the worst time for movies. And it's because there was a political correctness thing going on. And so Joe Rogan's like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, in the 70s, you could have a protagonist who wasn't a hero, like Joe from Joe or Travis Bickle. They weren't good dudes. They weren't the hero, but they were the protagonist, and that was commercial. But in the 80s, everybody had to be likable. And if the character wasn't likable by the last 20 minutes of the movie, they had to kind of,
like redeem
themselves and kind of realize what they did wrong and kind of shun the way that they lived before. And he talks about Bill Murray as a perfect example, that he's an asshole through the whole movie. And then by the end, Groundhog's Day, for instance, he realizes that Scrooged, and so he kind of apologized. The movie apologizes for the way he was before that. Whereas Chevy Chase movies,
he transcends.
Other than the vacation movies where he's kind of a buffoon through the whole thing, but like the classic Chevy Chase movies, he's just kind of an asshole through the whole thing. And that's just Chevy Chase, and that's where the comedy comes from, Fletch and all those movies. He doesn't ever apologize for being an asshole. That's just he's who he is. This is an instance that's like that. I feel like in this kind of movie, especially a Christmas movie where things like Scrooge and A Christmas Carol are such a prominent theme for Christmas movies, it really... you expect it to go the way of, like, Arnold by the end is going to realize, you know what? I work too hard and I can let some of this responsibility go, or money isn't everything. And I should be able to go see my kid get the next belt or whatever. And I should be able to fulfill my wife's needs so that I don't have to worry about Full Hartman eating my cookies. But he doesn't really do that. You know, he saves his kid, but, you know, you expect even like the worst dad would kind of do that. You know, you'd have to be a really shitty dad to just like let your kid fall off the roof and not try to save him.
Well, he certainly, it's like, yeah, you get from those other Christmas movies like A Christmas Carol or something, that redemption at the end, where they like kind of see the light and they realize, yeah, I've been doing things the wrong way. Where in this movie, he just, I mean,
the redemption is that the kid thinks he's Turbo Man.
Yeah, and he kind of saves himself on that sense, like the happenstance of the bumbling comedy. I mean, this all takes place in one day, or like I think what was it, 28 hours maybe? Like it's like it starts the night before and goes into the next day, Christmas Eve, and then it all takes place in one day. So we have kind of a clock, so we get like a chunk out of the life, and as wacky as it is, it's kind of believable for me in the senses they shot this in St. Paul, Minnesota, and Minneapolis, and then they kind of meshed the two together and they called it the Twin Cities, and that's what the police are saying on their on the side of their shoulder. So like for me, like I got like anxiety when he was trying to get on the highway to get to his kid's karate class. It was just all bumper to bumper. That's what happens to me when like I have to drive into the city one day to go to work. As soon as I get on the highway, it's bumper to bumper. Like, oh, so it's like there's a lot of things I feel like we've been there and done that. Certain experiences trying to get out of the viewer. The anxiety of, I remember when I was little, my mom drugged me to like early in the morning to like a clothing store to get up to open for Black Friday. So I was like in the Black Friday line with her a couple years. We'd go in and get whatever we wanted and stuff like that. So I feel like a lot of people have been in those situations.
Sure, but in the context of this though, the traffic, he's like, I'm going to make it. But he doesn't leave until the thing has already even started.
Yeah. It's taking him that long. And then he's using the exit lane or the breakdown lane to fly through, which I hate people do. And then he keeps getting out of these situations. Bomb goes off. He just, messes up the highway patrolman's motorcycle. He's like, he's with a guy who's flashing a gun. It's like all these different things.
Got the great Robert Conrad as the recurring character of the police officer Alexander Hummel, who, for people that are not as obsessed with old television as we are, he was on Wild Wild West as well as many other shows.
Yeah, Hawaiian Eye early on and stuff like that. He was the guy that supposedly Quentin Tarantino brings up, that he was supposedly kind of an asshole. He wouldn't pull his punches on stuntmen, and that's when Gene LaBelle came in and they put him in with Conrad, and he didn't pull his punch with Conrad. They used to call those guys clappers, or I forget that there was a term when the actor was kind of an asshole and he didn't pull the punch. They had a term for the actor, the stuntman. And some stuntmen were getting hurt on Wild Wild West and like, what the fuck? So they put Gene LaBelle in, who's a legendary stuntman who is kind of based that sequence in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the scene where he fights Bruce Lee. That's kind of based on a Gene LaBelle experience. But supposedly Conrad was kind of a dick in those situations. But he's in one of the best Columbo episodes of all time. He is in one of the few episodes where Columbo breaks character and yells at him because Columbo hates him so much. So he's a great actor. A friend of mine I also work with was with a television personality, and they were going to do the show in L.A. And then they went out, and they went maybe to like Leno or something out there. They were doing something at an event, and Robert Conrad was there. And this is like 10 years ago, and he didn't look good. He was frail. That's kind of sad when you see guys like who were, his whole life, Robert Conrad was jacked. He's always like was muscle and sinewy and stuff like that. So near the end of his life, I think he had some sort of disease. So he was frail getting around, which is sad.
He was old in this.
Yeah, his prime was the 50s and 60s, into the 70s and stuff. So he's great in this movie as the motorcycle cop and stuff. So you have this thing where, so Schwarzenegger realizes he hasn't gotten the toy and he has to go out and get it. And he's stuck trying to figure out who has it and who's getting shipments in. And again, this is reminiscent of me. I worked Christmas Eve and we had an N64 shipment come in the night before, and I had to work out in the truck getting the N64s out with the truck driver. And that's the truck driver who He was telling me that he was very tired because he doesn't sleep because he drives so much. And I was like, well, why don't you just pull over and take a nap? And he's like, you can sleep when you die, boy. I was like, oh, all right. So we got this N64s out, and people were just plastered against the windows trying to get in. Then we opened those doors. People came in, and it was, again, pandemonium for that and the Tickle Me Elmos. And I bought myself a Tickle Me Elmo, and I had it in a box. And Christmas Eve that year, that would have been 96, I went to a gas station I used to hang out at. That was across the street from the IHOP I worked at. And I knew the guy who worked there, and I brought the Tickle Me Elmo with the idea maybe I was going to scalp it. And then no one really ever bought it. No one ever offered to buy it, and I didn't really say, hey, you want it? But I had it sitting on the counter, seeing if anybody might want it, since it was like the hottest toy that season. But I never sold it, so I still have it up my parents' attic, and it's still in the box, the Tickle Me Elmo. I don't think it works anymore because the battery probably died.
Vintage now.
It's used to shake and go, do weird things like that. Yeah, it's vintage now. But this was certainly a big thing back in the day with these, like, again, starting with the Cabbage Patch Kids, the pandemonium. So he's trying to get this toy, and that's where he meets Sinbad, who's a mailman, who's trying to get the same thing for his son, who has some witty lines and stuff, and is a little out of his, gourd in a sense, where he's a little nuts. He's got some issues.
Yeah,
and and this was, I guess, a character that they originally wanted to maybe have Joe Pesci play. But then they realized maybe Joe Pesci, they looked at Daniel Stern, but they say Daniel Stern was already coming off the Home Alones, and he thought he didn't want to get typecast in these type of movies. And then they say they looked at Joe Pesci, but they were looking at the height difference, which didn't really affect Danny DeVito in the two movies he did with Schwarzenegger. But for some reason, they didn't.
Well,
think
I think
Joe
they
Pesci
would.
have been the right
They
fit.
felt like I think they just kind of felt like that's a joke that's already been done, with twins and whatnot. So,
and it's interesting that this was a Fox movie, and 20th Century Fox, and at the time, Schwarzenegger, he was in the pre-production or in the development for the Planet of the Apes remake. And I guess that kind of just got delayed or prolonged or put on the back burner or stopped. And then that's how they offered this to him. They were like, well, we have this comedy if you want it. And Arnold was like, yeah, I want to do comedies. And it's a Christmas comedy. So that got put on hold. And then we all know, like, a couple of years later, what year is that? 2000, 2001, when Tim Burton finally does do a remake of the Planet of the Apes with Mark Wahlberg.
yeah, it's definitely
That might have been cool.
2001 or a little bit later. It's definitely not 2000.
Yeah, I think because we had it at the video store at the time, so I was working there maybe 2001, 2 or 3, double discer there. I think mid 90s I would have been into seeing Schwarzenegger in a Planet of the Apes and playing the Chuck Heston role. That might have been pretty cool.
It's a madhouse.
yeah. You maniacs! You blew it all up. You blew it all up, you maniacs! You took his brain. I don't know who that is. It's not Schwarzenegger. Get out of here now. Where are you? You get away from me, you dirty apes. You damn dirty apes.
What are you doing?
Anyway, what are you doing? You took his brain out. I don't know. It's just a weird
The Nazi
German
soldier.
doctor. Anyway, so that's how he got involved in this movie. And then I guess it's Schwarzenegger's agents who referred Sinbad to this. And then Sinbad, they were like, I don't know. And they took some convincing. And then Sinbad evidently missed a couple of the audition processes because he was overseas at Bosnia at the time with Hillary Clinton and Sheryl Crow. They were on some USO kind of tour doing stuff. So when he came back, he'd missed the audition periods. And then he auditioned, and evidently the audition didn't really go well. But they said, hell, who cares? You're Sinbad. We'll give it to you anyway. So that's how they got him in there.
I mean, it's a bold choice for Schwarzenegger because he's coming off of... Was this 96?
Last Action Hero, right?
Last Action Hero and True Lies in between the two, maybe?
Yeah.
So he's just not too long. Just a couple of years before this, he has what's considered like the biggest flop of all time.
Yeah.
It's kind of doing
maybe he was
a comedy action movie. I mean, granted, this movie is not really a comedy, quote unquote, action movie, even though I think I wouldn't be surprised that all this stuff in the end kind of maybe, I don't know this for a fact, but maybe gets kind of added or vamped up a little bit once they cast Schwarzenegger.
Oh, a little the action and like the physicality.
They have a little more kind of action for Arnold.
Sure.
But
they add him in there, and then they say a lot of the dialogue between the two of them were improv, which you can kind of see, the back and forth and stuff like that in certain scenes.
Yeah, apparently Sinbad improv'd a lot, and the Schwarzenegger, being the professional, kind of like rolled with it, reacted. Now, let me ask you, in the theatrical cut, the scene in the diner, does Sinbad go into like his story about the toy that he didn't get when he was?
Yeah, he's referring to a real toy there. The thing's called a Johnny 7 MOA gun, MOA meaning one-man army. This was a real thing back in the day, and evidently if you look up the old commercials, he's actually quoting the commercials. It came out in like 64 by Topper Toys, and it was a bestseller at the time in 64. So it's a real gun, and what's in he goes through the whole thing, but it cuts to him saying, like, my dad didn't get it for me. That it was just another day for where in the extended version, he explains what each one did. So that's where that's where the deleted little chunk out of the dialogue is. He says, like, number 1 is a Tommy gun. Number 2 is a flamethrower. Number 3 is a missile launcher. That's not in the theatrical.
Because when you read the thing, it says that something about that scene is extended. And I was like, if that stuff's not in the movie, like if the stuff about like
his character development,
it's like totally not redeemable. At least you have some sympathy for him.
No, it's just him breaking down what each of the 7 one-man army parts of the gun are. That was taken out.
Yeah.
And then we have another example while I'm still here. The tow truck driver in the movie, there's dialogue with her, which isn't in the theatrical cut. He gets dropped off.
Yeah.
And she is the same woman. She's appeared on our podcast before as well. She plays the wrong Sarah Connor in the first Terminator movie. The one he kills, he breaks open the door and kills.
Familiar, but I couldn't pinpoint what I'd seen her.
Yeah, she got a little older and stuff like that. But so there's a whole scene of dialogue where he's kind of rehearsing what. And again, I guess this goes to your argument of not being redeemable, where she's like, "No, you got to make it more sad," and then he's trying to figure it out. I mean, I think at some point, he goes to the point of robbing
the tow truck. He shoots her.
yeah, shoots her 6 times. With a laser pointer. Yes. Sarah Connor. No. But then right in that scene is he gets so enraged at Phil Hartman's character, Ted, and she's over there petting Ted, which, again, I think Phil Hartman's such an amazing actor at all capacities. He emphasizes like each line, each word has its own cadence that just makes it so hilarious. That he goes over and like breaks into the house and he's gonna steal the toy from under. And at least he comes to his senses then, and maybe that's his climactic moment. Yeah. Then when he goes out drinking with the moose, where they're drinking the local Minnesota beer.
He does punch the moose.
He punches the moose in the face, and the moose is like, oh, and then they kind of have like
not moose.
The reindeer, and he kind of ends up. They have like a little sorry. And they're talking together, drinking beer. You want more of the beer? And he gives them more of the little local Minnesota beer. And then he has the realization, like, I can do it. And it's like one of these situations where the cards just fall so well, and of course it's a movie. But where they don't, we're jumping all around here, but at the end at the parade, they don't have the actor. The guy has been burned beyond recognition in the rehearsal, which is hilarious. So they're like, okay, don't worry. And they put him in the outfit, and he becomes the Turbo Man. Originally going to be called Turbo Tom, but I'm glad they kept it as Turbo Man. And yeah, so it's a hard story because it's a very integral kind of thing where he's running from place to place, trying to get the toys, dealing with all the people, going to various places. They shot in the Mall of America in Minneapolis, in Minnesota, and that's where they ended up premiering the movie later on. There, and you have all these action sequences, and I mean it's so funny because he goes after the kid with the ball. And he goes in, and then it gets really creepy. He goes into the ball pen with the kid. I'm just laughing at that. I was laughing at Blake just looking at me. And then he just looks like then all the women just start hitting him because they think he's a child molester. He's like, I was going for the ball. He's like grabbing the kid's mouth. It's funny connotations. And poor Rita Wilson's at home. Where are you? You just and then the kid's like, are you ever going to come home, Dad? And all he had to say is just that my car broke down.
Dumb broke down.
Yeah, dumb broke down. My car got a flat, What happened to the mule? Dumb broke down. And then the car gets stripped. And I was like, it's like, oh, God. This movie does have a great soundtrack.
It does.
I mean, Backdoor Santa. You have so many great songs. I was going
to bring that up. It's a hell of if you're looking for like a Christmas fantastic listen for the holiday season, I would imagine this soundtrack really kind of brings it home because it's got a lot of classics. But we mentioned it briefly, but of course we have a reteaming of Jim Belushi and Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, when he's in the mall, he ends up meeting the Santa Claus that's there, and he overhears what happened in the ball pit. He's like, "So you want a Santa Claus?" And then he's like, or you want a Turbo Man? I got a Turbo Man. And then he brings him to this weird place. And it's kind of funny there because then you have like these union Santa Clauses working in this like warehouse, very like Born in East LA kind of a vibe with Cheech Marin. And they get in there and he gets like, sold like a Spanish figure that's broke. And then he gets into this fight. And there's the extended scene in here is they all sing like the boy that Santa Claus forgot. They have that big like barbershop quartet kind of a thing go on. Yeah. That's not in the theatrical version. And then the extended fight with the tall guy. Is he a wrestler?
Yeah, he.
Because I know I recognize
his real name's Paul White, but
yeah,
he played, I think in WCW he played someone, maybe the Giant, but then when he moved to when all that got kind of purchased by McMahon and everything, kind of became WWE. He was called the Big Show.
Okay. Yeah, I knew him from somewhere. And that's a little extended there too. You know when like Arnold's just letting loose on his kind of midsection and nothing's really doing anything, that's extra too in that scene because he only just throws one punch in the theatrical version, which is caught, and then he gets thrown or punched in the face, and then the other Santas beat him up, and Vern Troy jumps on his face. He throws him and stuff. Yeah. So that's a little extended bit, and I think that's all funny. And then he gets out of that. I mean, there's like freaking raid, and he's like, this is the worst raid I the whole. He really goes into it. I was on the cover for 3 months. He ruined it. And he gets out of that thing alive. So it's just he gets out by the skin of his chin and all these. And then Blake's like, this ain't believable enough for me.
Well, I tell you, watching the diner scene made me miss diners like that. New York City doesn't really have any diners like that anymore. So
no, they picked up and moved the last one, and they put it like upstate somewhere, one of those old fashioned 40s kind of like box truck diners.
When we were in college, we used to go to the Star Diner, which was kind of like that.
That's still there in White Plains.
Yeah.
The Stars is there. But the one in Yonkers that I would go to, with the train around and all that, I've already told you this, that closed down during COVID.
Done closed down.
Done closed down. What's wrong with that mule? Done closed down. What's the matter with
the diner? Done closed down.
Yeah. So, yeah, you miss those kind of diner experiences, sitting at the counter, eating something in the middle of the day, just putting whiskey into your coffee cup. The old smuggler.
Free cup of coffee.
Yeah, free cup of coffee by the elderly gentleman who's probably like an ex-blues player there. So you have, Jim Belushi shows up in the scene, the other gentleman from the Seinfeld.
From the Seinfeld.
from the sound like my dad from the Seinfeld, who might be also, is he in Bad Santa or those movies?
He might be. He's in a lot of stuff, that guy.
Yeah. I love how we don't know anybody's names. Thank you. No, that guy there.
That guy. He plays in a lot of stuff. He's in Lord of Illusions, which, as you know, I love.
Yeah, you love that movie.
Apparently he was in Watchmen.
Kate McGregor Stewart is that's the toy store customer. I'm sorry, that's who I'm referencing. I'm looking for the tow truck driver. What's her name? We mentioned before. They don't even have her listed in the credits.
God damn it!
Son of a biatch. We'll have to look her up. We'll get somebody on that when they get back. Yeah, so he's there, in the scene too, and that's kind of a funny scene, Jim Belushi. And then there's a little extra stuff in the car when they're driving over there when Jim Belushi's telling him. He starts talking about, his Schwarzenegger starts unloading about what's going on with his day, and his wife next door seeing the neighbor, and he's like, hey, come on, I don't want to hear too much about your personal life.
Now, let me ask you, if given the choice, I think your answer in 1996 would maybe be different than it is now. So given your choice now, looking back at 1996, would you have rather had this or a Red Heat sequel?
The woman's name is Mary Ann Mueller-Leland. Saying that right. Yeah. Mueller-Leland. M-U-E-L-L-E-R-L-E-I-L-L-E, everybody. Mueller-Leland.
I love you say something that was like completely intelligible. Like, did I say that right?
Bratwurst. I don't know. Because I've only seen Red Heat once or twice. I have to revisit it. I love, of course, what's his name in Red Heat, the bad guy who I can't remember his name right now from Dick Tracy and stuff like that. He's great in that movie. And I mean, I would love to see a Red Heat too, but it's weird because, as I've already said, I've only seen Twins once when it came out, probably. I remember liking it at the time.
Yeah.
I've seen Kindergarten Cop maybe a handful of times and really liked it at the time, but again, haven't seen it in 30 years. Had no interest to see Junior. So I'm on the fence when it's Schwarzenegger comedy movies, but I found this just maybe to be so accessible to me because of maybe working at a toy store and
Plus,
having the memories of it.
You have a special place in your heart for Christmas movies in general.
Yeah, that too. And then if it's fun, I can go along with it. But it says something that I never saw it when it came out. I didn't think I'd like it. So it took me, 15, 16 years to see the darn movie before I finally watched it.
Look, we were 17, 18.
We were watching all that pornography.
We were busy going to the video store and renting pornography.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I just think, we went to the movies with our friends and stuff, but we went to movies to see movies with our friends. And I don't think this necessarily would have been something.
I mean,
this would have been something that you and I would have maybe gone to see when we were in college.
Or with my dad, I would have saw
we were in college or something. But
it's hard because there's a lot of movies, and ladies and gentlemen, you can probably attest to this too, people who are our age, where you think of how the time is gone, where back when we were little, I saw movies that I've never seen again that I saw in the theater. And it was such a different time where you would take that gamble and go watch a movie in the theater that, you'd be like, oh, it sounds good. Hugh Grant's in it or Al Pacino's in it or whatever. It's like I saw that Mickey Blue Eyes in the theater. Never saw that again. There's so many movies that you see in the theater, because, you're going to go with your parents, you're going to go with your friends, and it's just, you look back on it like, wow, I saw that in the theater. Because nowadays, there's a lot of movies I wouldn't venture in, but it was the camaraderie where you're seeing the promotional stuff for it. You're getting hyped up from the commercials. People are saying it's funny.
Plus, there was it was going to the movies was like a thing to do.
It was an event. Like going to see American Pie in the theater, I saw that, and that was an example where it was so crowded and people were laughing so hard. I think I've said before in the cast, you'd miss the next joke.
Yeah.
People were laughing so much you'd miss like 30 or 40 seconds because they couldn't get over the pie gag or something like that. So it's like these collective experiences we had, which were fun, which sometimes would make the movie better.
Absolutely. I saw a 40-year-old virgin in the movie theater and thought it was funny, and then I've
still never seen that.
And then I watched it with somebody on like DVD or on cable or something, and it just sank like a lead balloon without an audience. But with an audience, you get the energy up. Horror movies are the same way. A horror movie and a comedy, they're the two kinds of movies that can drastically change the viewing experience by the energy of an audience.
I mean, is it also, especially with a comedy, do your taste change in a way where some of the stuff, like I don't know if I watched like a Napoleon Dynamite these days, if I find any of it funny, but at the time, I think a Big Lebowski is still very funny in my opinion. And certain things hold the test of time where some comedies kind of like, I don't know. Not that they don't age well because the jokes are crass, but it's just more that maybe your humor evolves.
Sometimes a joke is funny because you haven't heard it before. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's like the ending of it's like the shock ending, a surprise ending of a movie. Once you've seen it, you might not go see that movie again, or it's certainly not going to play the same way. A joke could be that way, sure. I tend to now. We talked about this recently on one of the shows. Maybe it was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. How we don't, as we get older, we don't rewatch things.
Yeah, that was Texas.
As much as we used to. We don't watch the movies we loved a million times. But I tend to watch comedies more in terms of rewatches because they go down easy. You know what I mean? It's tough to. With life experience and the world the way it is, it's tough to sit down and watch something like Texas Chainsaw Massacre every weekend. But fuck, if Role Models is on, HBO, I'll fucking watch it, even though I've seen it a million times.
Or Role Models, it's like a Night Shift or Irreversible. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like I watch Tootsie a couple times a year. I watch Hamlet 2 a couple times a year, or at least once a year. So there's definitely the movies that I tend to rewatch, and I watch a lot of I rewatch a lot of movies that most people would not think are worth rewatching. This isn't one of them. I think a lot of people like School of Rock. If School of Rock is on, I'll watch it.
Yeah,
always. But I tend to watch a lot of those kinds of like music or rock music related comedies, like The Rocker or Band Slam or whatever that movie's called, just like a teen one where there's a band competition is the big thing in town.
How about the Neil Young one? The one where they're all like Jack Black?
Neil Diamond. What is that one?
Sarah.
Saving
Sarah, maybe
Saving.
Yeah, I remember laughing. That I have that on DVD. I liked it a lot. Bought it. Never watched it.
I saw it at the movies. I maybe have seen it once before. As Dion knows, I'm a big Neil fan. So I like that about it. But I tend to watch a lot of comedies.
Well, this was one where I said to you over text a couple days ago that I had never seen that movie Just Friends from 2006 or so.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds, and my wife's like, you'll like this. She'd seen it, and then we were just looking for Christmas movies that would pop up. This popped up as a Christmas movie, and I watched it. And I really dug it. Like I kind of fell right into it. It had that hallmarky kind of a flavor to it, and I immediately bought into the world and the town and all the story of going back to your town 10 years later and all this stuff. So that was something I found surprisingly pleasant as a Christmas movie. So it's cool to find gems of stuff that are older. You might not think you'd like, and then you go back, you're like, oh, this is really cool.
Yeah, there was around when that came out, that was definitely a time when I went to the movies like by myself all the goddamn time. So whenever there's a movie in that couple of years, I'm always like, oh yeah, I saw that. The last time I saw that was at the movie. So that is one that I saw by myself at the movies.
It's something I find fascinating, and it's also something my wife brought up about like the idea of these Hallmark movies in this system. And you were telling me there's a book on like how to write them, and it's just an interesting kind of phenomenon that's kind of taken over, where it must have got to the point where these movies were coming out like a couple a year, and then it got so popular now they're just it's this own little sub-market.
Yeah,
where you have like so many channels doing them, and then you actually have like a new one a week. It's amazing. The onslaught of how many movies. I mean, you got ones from OWN, so there's African-American themed ones, or Tyler Perry, and then you have Hallmark, and you have Family. All these people, these channels are putting every year, I don't know, 10, 12 movies out?
That's a whole thing. I started watching them, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago. And since then, they've become huge business. Hallmark, starting from like the day after Halloween through like January 3rd, they take off all other programming. They take off the Golden Girls every night. It's nonstop 24/7 Christmas movies.
And they're relatively new. They're not like...
Well, because they've released them. They release during Christmas. They release one every Saturday and I think every Sunday. But even year round, I was explaining this. Yeah, they do ones that are not Christmas related. So every season has their own. So Hallmark movie puts one out like every Saturday. So every week, all year round. But now, especially around Christmas time, you got Lifetime. Hallmark also has more than one channel. They have Hallmark movie like something mysteries, and so they put out Hallmark Christmas movies too that are maybe not so much mystery, but they're maybe slightly more interesting in terms of plot. Netflix puts them out now. I've seen them on CBS Sunday nights. They do in their own network ones. And then of course you have, several kinds of channels that have kind of piggybacked off of what Hallmark was doing and do a more family friendly one, because Hallmark now has ventured into, on occasion, a gay one. They started peppering in gay people as like the friend or the sidekick, but now occasionally they do one that's like, about gay people, which I'm all for. I like them, but and there's always like one every year. There's a Jewish one.
Well, that's nice.
For like Hanukkah related one every year.
Yeah. But it's amazing because it ties into this in a way where it's like I don't see this so much as a kind of Hallmarkish kind of movie, but it has that kind of plot where they're not falling in love certainly.
No, but you're right.
The wanting something.
You make the Sinbad character a woman, or vice versa. You make Arnold a woman, and the Sinbad character a man.
And they lost their significant others somehow, like a year.
Yeah,
before,
they're both like single parents.
Yeah,
looking for this toy, and then by the end of the movie, they fall in love. It's Hallmark gold. In fact, I'm going to start writing this one as soon as we as soon as we stop recording.
And it's in a small town, or they have to go to the big city or something. It has all the markings for me as like that kind of a plot, which I find those arcs, that scenario is amazing. That it's kind of the basic same story every time.
There's a Hallmark movie classics, not always, but a classic plot line for Hallmark movies that they don't really like each other in the beginning.
Yeah. And they sometimes come into conflict about what they're doing there, and they don't realize there's a secret that gets revealed like at the end of the second act.
I call it the third act misunderstanding, but it's actually just called misunderstanding.
Yeah, where it's like, you're there because the one person works at a bed and breakfast and the other person, is coming in to get the hotel complex.
It's very much
launched.
the shop around the corner or whatever.
Yeah. Great movie.
And, You Got Mail, which is she doesn't know that he owns the chain, the popular book chain.
The Barnes & Noble-esque store. Yeah. And I have shades of that here, kind of.
Sure, I could definitely. I didn't think of it that way, but now that you bring it up, I could totally see. Like I said, you just switch the gender of one of them,
or you have them be gay,
or have them be gay. But
go.
To have it be romance in the end, which is Arnold, I guess, forgives him in the end of this movie, but they're not friends.
And the kid certainly forgives him too. Kid gives him the toy.
That's all right. You almost killed me, but whatever.
Yeah.
And here, take the toy.
And he gets you would think at the point where the kid, at the end, they're at this parade and they climb the tree. He's on top of that neon sign and it falls. You'd think at that point, Sinbad would be like, oh shit, let me help you. But instead he's like, give me the fucking toy. He's still going for the toy when the kid's hanging about to fall to his death.
He got caught up.
Yeah, he was too much in the moment. And he's got the bad guy, the Destructor outfit on. He kind of looks like Dr. Mindbender from the Cops TV show, Friday Crime in a Future Time. Kind of
it is a sweet outside.
Yeah, I mean, even Turbo Man looks pretty cool. So they model Turbo Man like we said off of the Power Rangers. We get at the beginning a pretty cool, funny kind of opening where it's like the kids watching the TV show and they have this little show like we alluded to. You have Richard Mole in it as the bad guy and some other guy playing Turbo Man, and then he saves the day. And then the kid keeps seeing commercials, and you could see in the background it's everywhere. And they have standees every place and all that kind of thing. He's the hot toy. And it's just funny, Schwarzenegger's so wrapped up in his life and his work and his job, which I guess, this goes back, I guess, to the 80s, if we're doing real deep analysis of this, where it's people are becoming so consumer minded or, they're forgetting the family. Arnold's forgetting all these anniversaries or all these important things with the kid, and the kid's really feeling it. And the kid's holding him to account. Kid's like, I fucking hate you, Dad.
Fuck, Dad.
Yeah, you're fucking ruining my life.
Damn it.
Yeah, the years of therapy I'm going to need that you're going to pay for is all because of this.
Take that off your head, you asshole.
Yeah, you fucking asshole doing the karate. You don't even know how to wear that right.
You're offending me.
Yeah, I know. You're offending me. I'm going to cancel you.
Okay, from a kid's point of view, I do have to say, Jamie's bedroom is fucking awesome.
Oh, yeah.
With the giant, airbrush painting of Captain America, sweet Marvel superhero sheets.
Yeah, he's got the Incredible Hulk in the background, which evidently Schwarzenegger, they offered that role to him back in the 70s, and he said no, and Lou Ferrigno did it. You got that plastered on the wall. I mean, in the parade at the end, they have a lot of characters come out. And I guess it's because 20th Century Fox still owned a lot of properties at the time. But I was surprised how many characters from Snoopy to there's so many they must have got the rights to have them.
Yeah, I was wondering around. There's Turtles, there's Cat in the Hat, there's Snoopy, there's Barbie.
There's everybody. Yeah, everybody showed up.
I guess Barbie you could get away with. That's not Barbie, that's just a blonde and a pink. But definitely there are characters in mascot outfits that are definitely
Turtles and stuff like you said, Dr. Seuss. So they have all that going. And this is a real parade that they do every year in Minnesota, that they shot this, though, in L.A., this parade, because they were worried about, of course, you have to shut a street down and do all this kind of stuff. So they had to be able to control all of it. And then they did it at the day because logistically it's a lot harder to have to film this thing, at night when they usually have the thing really happen. But the real parade is called the Holly Dazzle Parade, which they rename in the movie to the Wintertainment Parade. And that takes place every year in Minnesota. So they moved that to L.A., but they did a lot of shooting. They had 5 weeks of shooting in Minnesota, and they said, I think up until this podcast, I think they said that was the biggest movie to come to Minnesota to film. And they did like 5 weeks in St. Paul at the Mall of America and in Minneapolis, maybe in the surrounding towns, to get this. And then they went and did like indoor stuff, in LA, and they did some of the streets, because they had to control stuff like that. But there's a lot of sights to see. You could see them in certain positions and famous spots around Minnesota, which is cool. I always like when they go to like location and represent someplace,
Yeah, I know I've brought it up before. I do. Being someone who lives, 2 blocks from Times Square, I always wonder, obviously seeing New York City in a movie means something different to me than someone who lives in somewhere else. But I remember when Scorsese came and shot some of, what's the one with Winona Ryder? The period one that Scorsese did? Age of Innocence.
With Winona Ryder. Oh, yes, okay. With Harvey Keitel, you mean? Or
who was the guy in that?
Yeah. No, I'm thinking the piano. That's the piano.
Well, anyway.
Yeah, isn't it, what's his face? Is it from There Will Be Blood?
Yeah, Daniel Day-Lewis, right?
Yeah, isn't he in that? And maybe Anthony Hopkins? Or am I thinking?
Anyway, so they came and shot some of that in Troy, New York.
Well, that was like in the late 80s, right? 88,
late
89,
80s
90?
Or early 90s, but
yeah.
That was a big deal that they came in. And they actually redid some of the storefronts to make it, because Troy, I don't know what it's like now, but Troy was pretty run down by then.
Yeah.
It was not the best place. I loved it because that's where the comic book store was.
Sure.
My mom worked there, so my mom worked at a legal newspaper selling advertising for a legal newspaper, which would go to out to lawyers and judges and stuff, and I would go to with her to work, and there was Aquilonial Comics, and then down on the other corner there was a used bookstore that I just loved, and so I loved Troy, but it was not. I was a little kid. I wasn't smart enough to be scared. But that was also, that was a time where Mom's like, "Here's $5. Walk down to the corner by yourself. Go down
you're
there
not,
and just
hope for the best."
Or 10. Go to the bad part of town.
That was the 80s, and you would go do it by yourself. You go pick up, boy, here's a list. Go to this corner market and get me some milk, whatever. So you go, all right, you go there. They shot a great movie, Ironweed, which is a book I absolutely love. But they shot that. It takes place in the Depression up in Albany, and that's from 87, 88. It's got Meryl Streep, Jack Nicholson, Tom Waits in it. And they shot it all up in Albany and kind of redid stuff to make it look like the Depression, because it takes place up there, and it's about the homeless people at the time. Yeah. And how they would freeze to death in the winter and stuff like that. And I'm sure that was a big deal when they went up there to Albany to shoot that,
sure. Troy, they redid a lot of the storefronts for the movie, and then they just left it that way for the.
Oh, that's cool.
So, because they were nice all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's cool when you get to see. I mean, there definitely things have shot at the Mall of America, but.
Well, it's funny, for these Hallmark movies, whenever I'm watching one now and it starts, you see that establishing shot of Chicago, New York City, and then you see some intercutting of people walking around and stuff like that. You'll see Rockefeller Center or Radio City Music Hall or the Sears Tower, and then all of a sudden they cut to the street and you can tell it's Canada somewhere. Yeah. And now I found all these movies are shot up in Canada. Bob Clark would be smiling in his grave.
Yeah,
all these movies
those
are
Hallmark
shot in Canada.
Movies are shot in Hallmark Town, which is in Canada.
Even that Just Friends movie I was just talking about, Ryan Reynolds is Canadian, but it's supposed to take place in the suburbs of New Jersey, but they shot all that up in Canada too.
There's a very specific shot that they use at the beginning of all the ones that start in New York City, because the theme of a lot of those movies is goes from the big city back to a small town or back to their hometown, and it's about how hometown life is better than being in the city, so they end up staying. But so there's an established shot of New York City that's on 8th Avenue around 59th Street looking south. And so every time I'm up there, because it's not too far away from, and I used to live much closer to that, but it's right before you get to Columbus Circle. And I always walk across that street like, this is that Hallmark shot.
Is that the same shot from George C. Scott crossing the street from P.J. Clark's or something?
Oh, that's probably that's up at Lincoln Center, not Columbus Circle. But that's probably only about, that's less than 10 blocks away from that Hallmark shot. I
was in the neighborhood.
Yeah,
literally. But you have a lot of, it's fun when you see that, they do stuff like that. They go to a town and they, and then it's funny. When it's clearly different, it's not the town that you're supposed to be in. You can tell. It's like my eyes, I'm sure your eyes and our listeners' eyes are educated enough that you start seeing that you realize, that there's someplace else. They're on a back lot, especially when you watch a lot of like 70s shows nowadays. Say like, again, I always say Kojak. He's driving around in the car in New York City. It's clearly New York City. And then when he stops, he's on the Universal. Yeah. He's on that one street.
New York do everything. Street Universal.
Yeah, the New York Street. I just watched a great movie, since we're talking about Canadian movies. I don't know if anybody's heard of this, but I just saw it posted and I watched it last night with the wife, called The Silent Partner from 1978. I was going to text you about it. It's got Elliot Gould, Suzanne York, and Christopher Plummer in it. And it's a Christmas movie, but it's a heist movie where Christopher Plummer tries to rob the bank at the beginning and then stuff goes afoul. But Christopher Plummer plays like a psycho. He looks like Michael Fassbender in it.
What's it
and
called?
He's kind of like, it's called The Silent Partner.
Okay.
And it's when the time when they were casting Elliot Gould as a leading man in all these movies, and in the 70s, Elliot Gould was the one to go to. So he's like the bank clerk, and then also in it, like co-starring is John Candy. So John Candy plays like a part in the bank, and it's a thriller. And it was very controversial at the time because somebody's killed using, I don't want to give it away, but Christopher Plummer dispatches a woman in a very horrific style, and it was controversial. The censors were pissed at the time. But there's just nudity galore. Every woman in the movie gets naked in it for whatever reason, because that's what you did back then. But it was all shot, takes place in Toronto, shot up in Canada. I don't know if they really tell you that, but it's all a Canadian production. Great movie, great sidetrack for Christopher Plummer playing like a psycho who may kind of, I don't know if he's gay in it or what, but he dresses up. I can't give stuff away, but like his nails are manicured. He's very, very good. Yeah. But if you're looking for like a Die Hardish kind of movie that's set around Christmas but has another plot going, go watch that Silent Partner. Very good.
Yeah. Elliot Gould, I always heard that he kind of fell out of fashion because he was real difficult to work with.
I can see that.
People just didn't want to work with him anymore, so they stopped hiring him for stuff.
Because I remember like in, of course, MASH, and then going into the 70s, he's like in The Long Goodbye, the Philip Marlowe, Raymond Chandler remake. And then sometime he had some contract with Disney, and he did like 5 or 6 live action Disney movies. Of course, The Devil and Max Devin, but he did a lot of stuff in the 70s where like the plane crashes on the island, they have to get off the island and stuff. He did a lot of movies like that. And I remember when I was little, when I went to Catholic school, they would play movies in the basement. They would just get a projector, rent a 16 or 8 millimeter, and we'd go down into the basement. They'd put a screen up, and we'd watch a movie. And I watched a couple of those Elliot Gould movies back then. And I remember like, so that's how I kind of knew Elliot Gould, from that and The Devil and Max Devin, these Disney movies he would do, because those live actions were big back in the day. But yeah, like in the early 80s, he kind of not fell out of fashion, but you
ever see? I can't remember the name of it, but there's like a cop movie where he and Robert Blake are partners, kind of like undercover partners.
That sounds familiar.
That's up your alley for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. It's like Mikey and Nick, or Nick and Mikey, or whatever, with the John Cassavetes and what's his name, Peter Falk movie. So yeah, this movie,
Jingle All the Way. Yeah. I will say,
not shot in Canada, of course. Close enough though, Minneapolis.
There's a theme.
Minnesota.
There's a musical theme in it. I don't know if maybe it's like the Turbo Man theme. I can't remember. It definitely plays it during the credits, but it happens within the movie too. It opens so much like the theme to The Last Starfighter that I can only imagine they tempt the Last Starfighter theme
And they liked it so much they kind of just built
had what's called Temp Love, and they just that David Newman needed to who composed the music for it needed to just trying to copy it. But David Newman, interesting character, family of film composers. His dad, Alfred Newman, not Alfred E. Newman, but Alfred Newman, was a composer back in the day. His brother Thomas Newman, also a much celebrated film composer. He did like Shawshank Redemption and Finding Nemo and Wall-E and Skyfall, the last couple James Bond movies. His sister, Maria Newman, also a composer. And his cousin, Randy Newman, who is, of course, a songwriter, artist, and also has composed music for film as well, including some of Dion's favorite movies, the Toy Story movies.
You got a friend in me.
And
man.
He has nephews that are getting into the business too. But David Newman has been in the business a long time, did some memorable stuff, certainly some Saturday Night Movie Sleepover stuff, including Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, which we did on the show.
Excellent.
Little Monsters.
That's something we should do on the show.
He did the original Frankenweenie short.
Nice.
For Burton.
With the aforementioned Daniel Stern.
DuckTales the movie.
Oh, I've been wanting to do that movie for years with the Secret of the Lamp, Treasure of the Lamp, whatever that is.
Of course, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. Rover Dangerfield.
Nice. That's a great one.
All kinds of stuff.
Animated.
Hoffa.
Love
Coneheads. The Sandlot.
Never saw the Coneheads. Sandlot people love.
Flintstones. Tommy Boy.
Well, if the director of this movie is coming off the Flintstones, he's riding high. But he said after he did this movie, this was a financial success because they only spent like, say, 70 or 80 million. And the problem was, since Planet of the Apes had kind of fell through, they gave this to Arnold. Well, they only had like 6 months or so, or 8 months to shoot the movie, get it wrapped, lock it, shoot it. So they didn't have as much merchandising as they would have. So they couldn't secure any merchandising rights to have this coincide with a McDonald's or somebody to try to promote the movie. So the only thing they were able really to do was to make the action figures. They made a Turbo Man action figure, which you can find on eBay now for $70. I think it was like $50 when it came out. Then on the West Coast, they had a Turbo Man that came with a car as well. And although they couldn't really get any marketing or promotions to go in tandem with the movie comes out November of '96. Crazy enough, because we remember these days, this movie wasn't released on VHS until like November '97. So it's almost a year before it comes on VHS. So it comes in right before the Christmas season of '97, and then doesn't go on DVD to '98.
They could have done that on purpose to try to. They put the release around Christmas so that maybe people would buy it on home video as a Christmas present.
Because I remember back in the day, sometimes you have to wait 6 to 8 months to get these movies. Once they left the theater, and then. The movie's a financial success, needless to say. Where it only costs like 80 million, and then it makes like I think 100 and something, 150 or 60 million,
something I think, but still, almost doubles its money.
But critics don't like it. People kind of tend to like it, obviously, because the movie does well. But the director gets a lot of shit for the movie. Some of the critics get mad because they're mad that he's putting toys out. And, the director's like, well, you look at Space Jam's out right now, and they have everything under the sun for Space Jam, so why are you giving me a hard time?
It's probably Chris Columbus. It's actually Columbus, the producer, who probably got a lot of that flack, too.
Yeah. But he said, the director said he was kind of like in the director's corner for a while, couldn't really, get stuff anymore, and then I guess he was able to come back. I don't know. I'm sure he did something before 2012, but then he says he came back and did the Christmas Story kind of sequel.
Yeah, well, Brian Levant... who directed this movie, got his start in television as a writer and producer, which is writer and producer are much bigger jobs in television than director. They're the people that are with the show all season, whereas often, not always, more so now than then. That back in the day, you used to have like what's his name, Jim Burrows, who would direct every episode of Cheers or whatever. But for the most part, producers and writers in television are kind of the more creative, have more creative control. They're more the higher ups, and the directors are like hired guns that come in for an episode or two. But so he wrote and produced stuff. Episodes of Happy Days. Mork and Mindy, did a couple episodes of that. He directed some episodes of Married with Children. So he came from television and then kind of worked his way into film in the 90s. Did Problem Child 2, Beethoven, The Flintstones. Followed up Jingle All the Way with Flintstones in Viva Rock Vegas. He did Snow Dogs. The Spy Next Door, stuff like that. Leave It to Beaver. He wrote that, the Leave It to Beaver movie in '97, which that has Walter Matthau, right? Or is that?
Oh, you're thinking of Dennis the Menace?
Oh yeah, Leave It to Beaver. That's right. I was thinking Dennis the Menace.
You fucking idiot!
I'm such an asshole. I'm sorry. And some direct-to-video stuff, like you said, with the Christmas Story 2. Which we talked,
but those were pretty big. The Viva Las Vegas one. Even though
Flintstones
they had
was
like
huge.
A recast. Yeah, then even though they had a recast completely for the sequel, that was still pretty big. The Viva Las Vegas one.
Yeah,
the live action. I mean, that's a lot of money too. You think about the Flintstones movie and the sequel; they're having to fabricate everything in that thing. You can't just do that on existing sets for the most part.
I don't think I've ever seen any of the other ones. I think I didn't see it in the theater, certainly the Flintstones movie, but I definitely have seen the Flintstones.
Yeah,
movie.
I've seen that. I watched that with my sister. I might have seen the sequel. I don't know if I have, and I haven't seen Snow Dogs, which I remember being. I think that's a Disney movie, maybe.
I don't know. Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yeah, I think that might be a Disney related movie. I remember this box in the video store, and that was out maybe in like 99, 2000, 2001, around that era. When I worked there, it might be a bobsled or not a bobsled. Yeah, it might be like one of those movies where the dogs are pulling a sled or something like that. But it's interesting you get Columbus. There's a quote that I found interesting. Columbus is talking about here where he's saying like he's always attracted to the dark side of the happiest season of the year. So that's he kind of polished his script. Supposedly, he likes the satire. And to add into the commercialization of Christmas, which we see, of course, really prominently. We talk about in the Charlie Brown episode and stuff like that. And this is also going into, I think, our Christmas Vacation maybe episode where we talk about the commercialization of this season
probably.
and stuff.
But it's a big theme in the Charlie Brown.
Syndicate. That's what it's about. Yeah, the Syndicate, and then they were originally sponsored by Coca-Cola. They had to take it out. So it's interesting that, these are the themes you see in some of these movies. Like even Home Alone's got a dark side. I mean, did I share that with you? There's a video someone shared with me a couple weeks ago or last week where it's like, it's actually Macaulay Culkin now driving
I said
the car.
that to you, but somebody else might have sent it to you before
Okay,
did.
so you sent that to me? Yeah. Where Macaulay Culkin's in the car in the backseat chain smoking and someone's like, who's calling you? He's like, my mom, and he doesn't answer. And he's like, wow, you're ghosting your mom. And then he's like, you know how messed up my childhood was. They left me for a week by myself, and then I had to fight off two crazy guys, that were saying this or that, and I almost, got out with my life and stuff like, how traumatizing
but
that
then
is.
your mom, she tried to get back to you, right? I don't know. She was like a groupie for some polka band.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what she did with those polka players in the van. It's funny, but it's like you look at it that way. It almost reminds me of you brought up last year. We were talking about my recommendations in that, that French movie you brought up. It's a French movie where it's like a Home Alone, but it's a serious movie.
Oh,
where
yeah,
it's like the internet, it's the internet login or whatever the name of the movie is, which I actually still want to see. I need to watch. But these movies can be very, not so much Jingle All the Way, but some of these movies you can turn serious very quickly and it becomes like a Saw movie or something like Home Alone.
Well, Halloween, not Halloween. Halloween horror as well, but holiday horror in general. But Christmas horror has become one, I think.
It's like the action movie too, you throw an
yeah,
action movie
I think there are more Christmas movies produced these days than there were when we were kids. Now there's like 5, 6 a year,
Yeah, absolutely.
Before there was like maybe one a year, one every couple of years.
And I think that's also the commercialization. They realize there's an affinity for it. I watched a video recently about someone explaining why the music we listen to for Christmas is so old, and it's just because when we were little, with World War II coming out, White Christmas, with the war being on and people getting the sentiment, they wanted a melancholy song, and everyone stuck to it. It became like the number one song of all time. And then you put all then people jump off that and they start doing Jingle Bells and all these other songs, and then all of a sudden people are covering those, doing new interpretations of that. And then that's all you listen to growing up, and then that's just passed on, because when you hear these songs now, you think you're a child because you listened to them in your childhood. And it's really hard nowadays to have a song like the Mariah Carey song that came out 30 years ago.
Yeah, well, that's the
Bon
thing.
Jovi.
Even the Wham song Last Christmas and the Mariah Carey song, which are great songs, it took a long time for them to become staples.
I would say that new song with Elton John and what's his face, the male singer, I forget his name nowadays. That's kind of now become like I think that's going to be an instant classic. Everyone's yelling at me what his name is because he's a really popular male singer nowadays that the women love. But that's become popular. And there's a whole bunch, as I brought up before, there's a whole lot of British songs that we don't know, but we hear all the time in movies like Love Actually and stuff like that, which for some reason, I don't know why they're not in the American rotation, but if you heard them, you'd be like, oh, I know that Christmas song, which I think are great, that are all these classics. But it's hard. And I don't know if this is a conversation we had, but we said, one, it's very hard to write a Christmas song that'll last, but two, if you're able to do it, you're set for life.
Yeah.
Did we have this conversation?
Yeah, because the movie, which is a Christmas movie, I think I brought it up when we did the list, about a boy with Hugh Grant. His character is the son of a guy who wrote a Christmas song. And so Hugh Grant doesn't have to work for the rest of his life because his dad wrote one song.
His dad's like Irving Berlin,
On a semi-related note, there's an interesting, it's not my favorite documentary in the way that it's done, but it's certainly an interesting topic that plays on PBS around this time of year, which is all about
Krampus.
It's all about how all the great classic Christmas songs that we know from yesteryear are all written by Jewish guys.
Oh, yeah, they're all Jewish people, yeah.
And so it's all about, like, those guys and the traditions of the Jews around Christmas and why those guys wrote those songs. It's pretty interesting. And somebody goes into this whole thing about how Rudolph is like it's a Jewish fable, like he's Jewish, but it's an interesting topic.
Well, to get honest with the whole audience, it's only me and you talking, Blake, and no one else is listening. My wife and I have a ritual every year we do where we live near Woodlawn Cemetery, where a lot of famous people are buried, from Miles Davis to Duke Ellington to Celia Cruz to Robert Moses, a lot of people who survived or died on the Titanic, Bat Masterson, but also Irving Berlin's buried there. So every year we leave a rose on Irving Berlin's grave at Christmas time because we know where the grave is. So we take our dog out and we do a nice little walk because Woodlawn Cemetery is amazingly huge, and you can it's made to walk around it and check out the mausoleums and this stuff. So they have Irving Berlin there. So we live a little, and his grave, he lived to like 101. So he only died like, I think, I don't know, 2000, 2001 or something like that. And his wife's next to his grave. And then he had a baby that died maybe like a year or a couple of weeks after it was born. And it's the three graves there, and we go visit him every year and we thank him for, writing all these, I guess, I don't know what you call them, Christian songs, but all these, it's just interesting. And then how we locked onto this tradition, but it's interesting. And it's all, all these traditions, when you watch these docs about what they go into, we're so far off Jingle All the Way. But yeah, it's just interesting. Like, and again, going back to the soundtrack of this movie. I mean, it's got a killer soundtrack. I mean, Brian Seltzer's on this, Lou Rawls, Darlene Love, probably in the Phil Spector years, doing songs. You have a whole bunch of stuff. It's an amazing soundtrack, and it's really one of those back in the day you'd probably get. You got Chuck Berry's "Run Rudolph Run," you got Clarence Carter's "Back to Our Santa," which is like, I don't think it's a Motown. What did they make, the Stax years? I forget what group he was affiliated with, but there's a nice album of all like black musicians doing like covers that "Back to Our Santa's" on. I love all those compilations and stuff, but this is certainly like at the time when you were still buying soundtracks for movies. this would be a soundtrack you'd buy because it has some great various Christmas songs.
Yeah, soundtracks would always have, not always, but often, be all the songs or most of the songs from the movie, and then you get a couple. The only way you could get really film cues for a long time were stuff like this, because like even the soundtrack has 2 cues from the movie.
Yeah, at the end it has like the final theme or whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, Brian Setzer Orchestra was big in the 90s, and they had probably just come out with the first Christmas album, which he's had a few since with the big band. So we got a couple of those. Of course, you get the Nat King Cole Christmas song, Johnny Mathis. That's the most wonderful time of the year. A lot of great stuff. Run Rudolph, Run by Chuck Berry, Darlene Love doing Sleigh Ride. Actually, she does it with the Setzer Orchestra, and Lou Rawls with the Setzer Orchestra too.
I saw that, too, which is interesting because I thought they were the original cues from like the Phil Spector days when she was with him.
No, well, yeah, I mean those
because
I
love all. There's like that album. What is it? A present from you from Phil Spector, or whatever that album where he's doing all the girl bands of that era. I mean, that's my bread and butter. I love those songs.
It's funny because when the Sleigh Ride came in, and when we were watching it, and it's the Brian Setzer Orchestra arrangement, and then there was a woman singing it. I was like, what is? It was like what they could.
What the?
I was like, this is the same exact arrangement as the Brian Setzer arrangement, but it makes sense because she's fronting the Brian Setzer Orchestra for that. So that's actually pretty cool. Those might be specifically for the movie to have Lou Rawls and Darlene Love come and do those songs with them backing them.
Yeah, I'm sure they got them to record that stuff, adding onto the soundtrack. And then like a couple what ifs too. The booster, his sidekick that was originally supposed to be Gilbert Gottfried in the parade, which would have been, I think, really cool to have Gilbert Gottfried in that outfit. But I guess it's Curtis Armstrong doing kind of a semi Gilbert Gottfried impression.
Yeah.
That would have been cool to have Gilbert in there. And then evidently Ted's house next door, that is repurposed, I think, the interior maybe, or maybe his house. It's from 8 is Enough. The TV show, they use that.
Interesting.
I thought it was a real street, or maybe it is a real street, but they used the front for that. I think, what does he live like on a cul-de-sac maybe or something like that? Or, where all this stuff's going on. And Phil Hartman's character I think just find so funny. Evidently, from what we've read, they said Phil Hartman tried to read first for the Myron character.
Yeah.
Is that Sinbad's character?
Yeah.
But then when he read for Ted, the next door neighbor, they just thought he was great. And he had that Troy McClure kind of a delivery. And I just love everything Phil Hartman's in. He's just funny. He's a talent that left us too soon, and I find it so funny. I mean, he's obnoxious in this movie, and of course, no, you don't like him, but it's just so funny what he's doing and all that kind of thing with the, trying to get at Rita Wilson and all this kind of thing, and all the other women that are giving him gifts, and he's got the video recorder at the karate fight.
Yeah,
I recorded it for you so you can watch it later. Or he's like, he's on his house. You didn't have time, so I put the lights up for you.
You want to talk about the lawsuit?
Yeah, man. This is interesting.
Dave's not here, man.
So there's this lawsuit that comes up, man, and it comes up like, in 98, right? Murray Hill Publishing, they sued 20th Century Fox, and they say that they stole a screenplay that they had purchased, that Murray Hill had purchased from a high school teacher, Brian Webster, entitled Could This Be Christmas? And they said that the Murray Hill Publishing cited 36 similarities with the original script that are Jingle All the Way, including the plot, the dialogue, and character names, which is interesting. Murray Hill, the president of Murray Hill had bought the script from Webster in 93, and they'd sent it, I guess, to Fox and other studios the following year, but they didn't get any response from anything. And then if they're sending this script out in 94, they start developing it. This movie comes out in 96. So they're saying, it must have been read by a Fox script reader. And they're saying, hey, this is bullshit. This is copyright infringement or whatever. So in 2001, Fox is found guilty, right, for stealing the idea, and they're ordered to pay $19 million, which is $15 million in damages and $4 million in legal costs to Murray Hill, and a portion of which the original guy, the high school teacher Webster, would get. But then the head of Murray Hill, the president, dies a few months after the verdict. So I guess he was the guy who was kind of pushing this whole thing. And before the verdict gets quashed, let's see. the head of the president dies before they get any of the money, and then Fox appeals it, and the damages are lowered from the $15 million or $19 million to $1.5 million. So that's a big lower right there. And then eventually the verdict is thrown out in 2004 because the judge decides that the idea was not stolen, because they say Fox had bought our guy Cornfield, who wrote the screenplay, before he or anybody else at Fox had read Could This Be Christmas?
Yeah, it was, or at least the outline or something. They were able to show that before that script got sent out, they had already been developing this idea. So it ended up.
I tell you, if Harlan Ellison was the writer, the high school writer, he would have been all over this thing.
Yeah, he would have got a payday. He would have been thanked in the credits, and
yeah, he would have been, honorary credit, thank you to him. But it is interesting to think that, like, if they're citing 36, they had 36 individual things, including character names.
Yeah, but
that's pretty crazy.
Who knows what the truth is, though? Can't trust.
How many Howard Langstons are we going to have, or what's his name in the movie? Myrons, So, but this happens a lot. We know, like we just cited the Terminator. Harlan Ellison, it's sued. He was sue happy, and not saying that's a bad thing, but because a lot of people were stealing his stuff, so he was able to prove that some of the elements of a short story he had written that might have shown up on, I don't know, maybe like a show like The Outer Limits. I forget what it was.
Yeah.
That was used. The elements were used in Terminator, and he won that lawsuit, so they had to pay him and then put his credit in. So this has happened, and and this is the reason also why a lot of like people like Blake and I get stuck in the limbo, because this is the reason why studios won't look at unsolicited material, because they do not want to be sued. So that's the catch-22. You need a lawyer or agent to send the stuff to them, but then a lawyer or agent doesn't want to. How do you get a lawyer agent? It's a round robin. So it's tough. Yeah, this is definitely in the era where Schwarzenegger had that first big fail with Last Action Hero. And he's kind of he comes back with True Lies, and he does this movie, and he's still puttering. And I always personally cite, for me, the bookend of that era is, I guess, Eraser.
Yeah.
Because when I saw Eraser, I was still full on board with these kind of movies. These, what I mean by that is like the 80s action movies, where you were getting with the Van Dams and the Seagals.
I do kind of remember feeling when I saw Eraser at the movies that it felt like, I don't know if it was marketed this way or if it's just I had a personal feeling, but I remember feeling like it felt like a return of Arnold.
Yeah. He's back fucking shit up.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen Eraser in years. I've caught it on TV once or twice. It was interesting. Yeah, exactly. With the crocodiles and stuff like that. But elements of it, when he jumps out of the plane and stuff, like, it's all fun. But then for me, The Sixth Day or The Sixth Man, I didn't see that in the theater. I saw that later on. I thought that was okay, but I found that kind of being like almost a rehash of Total Recall. And then you and I saw End of Days in the theater, and I didn't care for that, really. I thought that could have been so good. Gabriel Byrne was amazing and stuff, but some of the stuff was just silly. And then I didn't care for Terminator 3, and then even that Collateral Damage he did, which they had to hold after 9/11, and that was okay. So it's like he kind of had that decline afterward. But it's not just exclusively him. I mean, remember Stallone went through this cycle too. The only one who really stood up from that era, I think Bruce Willis was still doing top-notch movies because he got into more of the obscure. He did the Pulp Fictions or The Death Becomes Her or Color and Night. He was doing, various other Disney movies or whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, people don't remember because now, which I came to discover at some point through social media, that like people look back at Demolition Man and think of that as like one of Stallone's best movies. But at the time in the 90s, those movies didn't make a lot of money here. Like he was already considered, by the time he did Demolition Man, Judge Dredd, The Specialist, what's the one with Antonio Banderas, The Assassin?
Assassins, yeah.
By the time he was doing those here, those were kind of like, he was kind of washed up already, but he, those movies were making a fuck ton of money overseas. Like he was still huge box office overseas. So that's why he was still getting paid.
Well, even he hits that, what's the name of that race car movie?
Driven.
Yeah, that movie is kind of lackluster. And then the movie he does after that doesn't even get a release, right? Remember that? There's one movie that went straight to video.
Yeah, that was like Guarding Mona or something like
Yeah,
that.
it was, but it was still getting international releases.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't really until he came back with either Rambo or Rocky that he kind of had the revitalization. And that happens that Eastwood had a problem. A lot of actors, it's it's hard, and this is what we've discussed for time. It's hard to stay like, be the John Wayne or Jimmy Stewart or whoever you are, where you're so popular in a certain era. But then when, times change, to try to stay relevant, like a Sinatra or all these big iconic characters. Then we saw that in the '90s with the action heroes. They were still pumping them out, but
but they were also trying
changing.
to do, like Schwarzenegger was, I think, smartly trying to change it a little bit with twins. Then,
Batman and Robin.
Yeah, but like trying to, they weren't necessarily successful. Twins was successful. Kindergarten Cop was successful. I don't really think of Kindergarten Cop as a comedy. It has funny stuff with the kids, but it's a pretty like messed up, like thriller action movie at its core. We just remember like it's not a tumor. It's like the big line from it, but so we remember.
You eating other kids' lunches? Let's stop it.
We remember the comedic parts, but the movie's not really a comedy. But like I think it was smart for him to try to redirect his career that way. And he did it with some success, but ultimately
they needed to do that, because if you stay doing the same thing, like a Seagal or like a Van Damme, you declined and went straight to video, and then you made a profitable market off of the straight to video era. And Stallone, it's weird. You touched on Demolition Man, and it's weird because I saw Demolition Man in the theater. I thought it was silly, but I was into it when it came out, and they did a special on the movie Magic show on Discovery Channel, so how they did stuff. So I was all into that, seeing the behind the scenes, and I thought it was just fine. And then I look back on it, I think it's a silly movie, like a Judge Dredd. But it's interesting now how people, especially in the sci-fi community, cite that as like a really pinnacle sci-fi movie for a lot of the stuff, the 1984-ish aspects of stuff that we're seeing nowadays.
Sure.
And then like the totalitarianism and stuff that was going on, and like a lot of the elements of it, as silly as it was, a lot of it come to fruition these days, and it's kind of kind of precedent that it sets, and it's resonant now. It's interesting that I see a lot of people talking about Demolition in particular. How lauding
it also has to do with that was the Stallone movie for that generation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like when we did Hocus Pocus, and which was a movie I personally didn't really care for, but I cited which was true, which is I didn't grow up with it. So I think the people that love certain movies, they grew up with them, so they viewed them at the right age for that movie, and it became their introduction to whatever, whether it's the actor, a genre. But it became something to them that viewing it 40 years, 30 years later, it's just like that a viewer's not going to view it the same way. And I think that happened with Demolition Man. I think that's happened a bit with Last Action Hero.
Certainly.
I think you and I are not the only ones that look back at that movie and be like, no, it's actually pretty good.
But we've always said that, though. I would like to put on the record. Yeah. I've always had a fondness for that movie. I thought it was very good for what it was doing and stuff. And some of these movies, I mean, I even liked Judge Dredd back in the day. I loved the Montesante in it. I loved the ABC robots. There's a lot of elements of that movie that I dug.
Yeah.
It was silly, but that was the era of it. If they made that new Dredd that came out was great too, with Keith Urban, I think.
Yeah.
Is that Carl Urban?
Carl Urban.
Keith Urban's a singer. Yeah. Carl Urban.
Him too.
He was in it too. I thought that was fantastic. So when you add those elements and you kind of modernize it. Didn't see the remake of Total Recall. Didn't see the remake of RoboCop.
It's so funny. I've been thinking about watching the remake of Total Recall, only because I think it keeps popping up. I saw it at the movies, but I don't really.
I think it's more faithful to the We Can Remember It For You, Jose.
Yeah, I don't
Phil K. Dick story.
I remember thinking it was fine when I saw it. I mean, as anybody who listened to our Total Recall episode probably knows, I never was in love with Total Recall. I like it more now than I did then, because I appreciate all the the special effects aspects of it, and but like I was just not a Verhoeven guy. I didn't like RoboCop growing up, even though I had seen it. But I like those movies now. But so it wasn't like I went into the remake of Total Recall being like, I don't want to watch this remake of Total Recall. I remember liking it. I remember there's definitely things about the RoboCop remake that I like, but I saw that at the movies too.
I mean, like Michael Keaton looked awesome, Gary Oldman looked awesome, but what turned me off and why I didn't see it was I didn't like how Ed 209 looked in it. And then I didn't like how the whole idea with me for the original movies, RoboCop, Alex Murphy's trying to search for who he is. Yeah. So a big main plot of him is rediscovering, getting his humanity back, where I think in the remake, he kind of wakes up and he's like, what have you done to me? Yeah. And then they just skip over that like it's a beat.
It's a different story.
Yeah. So I was a huge fan of RoboCop at the time, and then also Total Recall at the time. I mean, I was more enamored with Total Recall for the special effects, which we talk about in the Total Recall episode when you see him going through and you see his skeleton. That was like so amazing. And then I bought into, everything was real to me at the time when you're watching it as a 12-year-old. You believe that they're going to Mars and all with the special effects. You're not looking at it like it's a set. Yeah, 3 girls have 3 boobs in Mars, Everything I fall in love with. So I was a big fan of the era of those Verhoeven movies. When he got into the risque like stuff like Showgirls, I liked because of the nudity, but I have to revisit that. And then Basic Instinct was fun for the nudity, and I think it's a good thriller too, Basic Instinct.
Yeah, but that would be a good one for us to tackle.
Basic Instinct or
one because of the
Showgirls. I'll do both.
Yeah, I mean Showgirls would too, but I think the discussion about Basic Instinct would be more interesting.
Giallo-ish.
Yeah, the Giallo-ish. Yeah. There's a lot of things like that. It's got a fantastic score by I think Jerry Goldsmith.
And I gotta say, as a big appreciator of stuntmen, there's a scene in it where Michael Douglas like parks his car and he's like under like a highway overpass, and he like parks the car and somebody else is driving like a Ferrari and like turns the lights on and just guns it, and they hit him, and that stuntman looks like he got, he just rolls up because the hood of the sports car is like just like a 90-degree angle
ramp.
And that guy just gets taken out, and he goes way up in the air, 10 feet in the air, and lands on his back. And then they cut to Michael Douglas all messed up on them, and then he has to run, and I forget what it is. Maybe it leads to a chase. He gets into his car and chases the car. But I always love that scene. Everyone will talk about the nudity in that movie, and I'm like, that scene when that stuntman got it was amazing. So Jingle All the Way.
So anyway, Jingle All the Way.
I enjoy this movie as a Christmas movie. It's fun. It reminds me of the Toy Store era, which I don't know if we really have anymore. Toys R Us is kind of gone. Although I was in Dallas, Texas, commuting for work over the election cycle, and I saw there's a Toys R Us in the Dallas Mall. So they have like not a pop up, but they have it's nice that it's still alive.
Kind of making a little bit of a comeback.
Yeah. But a lot of people like KB Toys is gone. The affiliate Toy Works I worked at is gone. In the Northeast, they had Cha World. That went out in the 90s. So like a lot of the stores people know that were toy specific are kind of gone, and it's sad. And then this is something we've lamented before in other casts. When you go into like a Target or a Walmart now, you go to the toy section. Either the toys look terrible, in my opinion, or the ones that look awesome, or like, like a G.I. Joe is like $20. Or you want to get a Lego set, it's like $300 because you're paying for the licensing. And I know it was probably a lot if you scale down what the price was back then, $2 for a G.I. Joe, which is maybe like $8 nowadays. But it's like, it seemed like we had cooler toys. We had a gun aisle and stuff like that. Like, I love all that.
Yeah.
So this definitely, for living through the Tickle Me Elmo and the N64 years of when that was madness and Tamagotchi, this had a special place in my heart seeing it in retrospect because I had all that nostalgia for it. And it's fun seeing Arnold still in his prime at the time. He's still running around doing stuff like that, and and then all the other cameos. It's nice they had familiar faces peppered about because I don't think it would have been as fun for an audience member not to see people they know and recognize.
Yeah.
That was probably the allure, hey, let's every place we can, let's put someone we know and love.
Yeah, what's weird? I just watched Hook over the weekend.
Everybody's in that.
Which I haven't seen in, I don't know how. I definitely saw it in the theater, but I'm trying to think if I ever watched it after that. But especially on the ship, on Hook's ship.
Well, that was the thing at the time. Everybody, during the shooting of that, the thing was to go and cameo as one of Captain Hook's like crew. So even like Meryl Streep or somebody, I think, is dressed up as a man.
Yeah, Gwen,
she might be in the scene when they're playing baseball.
Yeah,
or something.
Glenn Close
Or Glenn Close. Glenn Close, yeah.
I think like David Crosby. It looks like he's in.
Yeah, there's a lot of cameos in there. That's another interesting movie because evidently Bob Hoskins and what's his face didn't get along at all during the film of that
Dustin
movie.
Hoffman?
Who played Hook? Yeah, the two of them did not get along at all.
That's a shame.
During the film of that movie.
I like both of those guys.
I do too a lot. I met Bob Hoskins one day, and he was the nicest guy in the world.
My favorite picture.
And I took a picture with him. Yeah. Looks like I'm carrying him around on my back.
It's like he's Yoda.
Yeah, he's in my backpack. He's a great guy. God bless him. He passed away. He left us early, too. Yeah. So Jingle All the Way.
Anyway, Jingle All the Way. Bob Hoskins.
Yeah, so then it wraps up, and then I love, the last scene in the movie that you see either in the theatrical cut after the credits or in the director's cut you see at the end before the credits where they're at home. He puts the star on the tree, and then they're like lovey-dovey, everything's all right. And then I love the, what did you get me for Christmas? And then they do the, what they've been doing the whole movie, that zoom in, done. And then that's what I was saying, like it looks for a sequel. And it would have been fun to see some sort of sequel. I don't know how you would have pulled it off, him trying to find her.
I'll be right
gift.
back. I gotta go to the office.
Yeah. I have to go to the office again because I forgot your gift at the office again. Oh, Howard. So, and then Phil Hartman's still trying to get like a claim in on his house for the insurance because his living room was lit on fire. And he's like, Balthazar. It's just funny.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else specific in the movie that I wanted to mention.
Well, have a think here. Sinbad,
stand-up comic.
Yeah.
Different world. Is that how
he's going through like? Yeah, he might have been, and I forget if he's like in the house party movies or something. I remember that one movie I remember him in where he's like the Secret Service agent to like Shirley MacLaine or something.
Oh yeah,
that's I don't know why that's the movie that always sticks in my head.
Apparently, he's the subject of a Mandela effect thing. You know the Mandela effect.
No.
Okay.
Maybe
this is gonna take this podcast is taking a weird.
He's ill now, right? Isn't he?
He might be. I don't know.
I think he's in poor health and something's happened to him.
Very quickly, Mandela effect is a thing that people. There's a theory.
Do you want to get back on the piano and play the piano while we? Because I'm gonna go. I'll go stoke the fire.
Mandela effect is like we remember things a certain way, and apparently they never existed that way, and like everybody remembers it, but it didn't happen. And there's theories that there are simultaneously, alternate universes that sometimes they interlap, and when they interlap, that's when we remember it. Like, Bernstein Bears versus Bernstein Bears. The Fruit of a Loom logo, people remember it a certain way, and other people say it isn't. Sex in the City, or is it Sex and the City? It's called the Mandela effect because apparently people remember that Nelson Mandela died in prison, but he didn't. I didn't remember that I never thought he did because I remember when he got out because we were at an age where we didn't know who he was before he got out. So there's this thing where it's called the Mandela effect, and it's like people remember things a certain way.
Sinbad thought he was Bill Cosby.
Like Febreze is spelled a certain way, and people think it's spelled a different way. A lot of it has to do with logos, GIF, how many Fs are in GIF, that kind of thing. But there's people remember that he was in a movie where he played a genie called Shazam.
That's Shaq.
But it's Shaq.
Yeah.
But people remember that it was him. And the theory is that, like I said, there's like this alternate universe where we
had him as a genie.
I don't remember him being a genie in a movie, but apparently there is a Mandela effect where certain people remember that he was demand that there was a Sinbad movie where he played a genie.
Well, we can deep fake him now and put him right in it.
So
who knows?
Sinbad.
Yeah. I think he's ill now. Like I said, I think there's something going on. He has health issues. And they were trying to raise awareness to something or help him. Maybe he's in financial problems. I don't know. because we haven't seen him for a couple of years. And then seeing Schwarzenegger last week, like in the shots of them shooting that Christmas movie, he's 77, so he's getting up there too. It's sad. You know,
yeah, well, I just watched that documentary about him, the 3-part series.
Yeah, it's supposed to be very good.
I finally got around to watching that. It was interesting, for sure.
Yeah, for surely.
I didn't think I was going to be interested in the last part, because the last part, it's like the first part is his bodybuilding career, the second part is his movie career, and then part 3 is his political career. And I was like, I don't give a shit about his being a governor or whatever. But I watched it. The whole thing was pretty interesting.
Nice.
I don't think they talk about Jingle All the Way in it, though.
Oh, then I'm not going to watch it. Bet you they spend time in Hercules in New York, though.
They do spend some time on Hercules in New York. They might even show some footage of him on streets of San Francisco.
Oh, nice. Or he's in The Long Goodbye with Elliot Gould, which we've already talked about, where the guy breaks the Coke bottle over the girl's face, which is kind of horrifying. Yeah, that's I got to see that, and I'm glad he's still doing stuff. It's just hard. That's what I always say, like about Pacino and De Niro. Everyone always gives them a hard time, but it's like when you do so much stuff early in your career, what are you gonna do? Got to stay relevant. That's why we're on like the 8th Meet the Fockers movie.
I don't even know if I said it with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I do like many Tobe Hooper movies, but it is like when you do Texas Chainsaw Massacre right out of the gate, like where are you gonna go from there?
Yeah, it's hard. A lot of people have a decline. Romero and like Carpenter. It's just like they put some solid movies in, but it's hard to keep. Even like mainstream guys like Michael Mann now put movies out, or Coppola. They just come and go.
Yeah,
Coppola
unfortunately, there's just not a lot of demand for. I mean, Stallone was kind of lucky enough to fall into Tulsa King.
Yeah,
which is good. Which is a good show, and he's good casting for that. Schwarzenegger hasn't had that yet. Maybe because he doesn't want to do. Well, I mean, I guess he did that Apprentice, but the reality show. But maybe he's not looking to do TV. He's a specific type. I mean, even though Stallone's a specific type, there's a little more.
I feel
versatility.
Like Schwarzenegger did a TV series recently where he was in something, and I forget what it was about. I feel like he did something that was TV related, where he was like, it's a semi-reality show or something, or it's shot like a reality show. I forget. But I feel like he did something.
He did that zombie movie like 10 years ago or so.
Maggie,
which was
he
was good.
I feel like he did some sort of show. Even like you look at Van Damme doing that JVD.
Oh goddamn, love that show. My favorite show.
You love that movie. Yeah.
Jean-Claude Van
he did
Johnson.
the movie and then he did a show, right? Yeah.
Van Damme. That is, maybe we should have maybe someday we'll do a Van Damme sidecast, because I have a lot to talk about with Van Damme.
Well, you'll have to helm that one, because I can talk about Cyborg, but that's about it.
I am one of the few people that will say that, pound for pound, some of his movies in the 2000s are better than his movies in the heyday. He's got a lot of stinkers in the 2000s, Don't get me wrong, but he has a handful of movies that he's made in the 2000s that are really genuinely good movies.
I used to say that about Seagal too. Seagal's kind of gone off the deep end, but in the 2000s he had some straight-to-video movies that I found very entertaining, like one with Lance Hendrickson and some other ones that were pretty good. I mean, you get a lot of crap, but once in a while you get something pretty good.
Hey, even a clock, even a broken clock.
Right, yeah, it's right twice a day, baby. So, I think I put too much logs on the fire, so I don't know. It's going pretty high, so I should maybe get away from the fire and sit back. So yeah, this was fun. I mean, it's a Christmas movie. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that dig it, and maybe people who don't. But we were trying to think of something to do, and half of this episode was almost a side cast.
Yeah.
Us, walking around and talking about everything else, kicking the tires and checking stuff out. But it's a fun installment for the Christmas season. And
well, look, it is certainly, if for no other reason, like a lot of the movies that we do on this, we cover on this show, at the very least, it is a very interesting time capsule for like 1996. The way it feels, that kind of
the Chrysler minivans in it.
Yeah, but just like the tone, like I don't know if you would make, you might make a movie about consumerism, but it would totally change now because so much of it is online. But it has a feeling, same way like that Last Action Hero did.
It's almost like an innocence. You know what I mean? It's like not to say we were more innocent pre 9/11, but it was almost kind of like it was a different time. You know, you can do different kind of things and stuff.
Yeah, there's just a tone. The rhythms
Yeah.
are different now than they were then. So it's
And we certainly haven't gone into that era of like, in the early 2000s where I kind of hate how it's taken over the cynicalness of comedy.
yeah.
Everything has to be making fun of somebody or somebody else, where I was more of growing up like the Bill Cosby comedy, where it's just more like if you can make somebody laugh without swearing, say, and you're talking about you being a kid or, your kids now, it's like I like that kind of stuff. Not to say any of the stuff nowadays is bad.
Yeah.
But, I feel like around the time of The Office and into that era, when I love the British Office, I've never really watched the American Office, the Steve Carell one, but I feel like, comedy in general has turned into that kind of a tone of just cynicism and very just, making fun of stuff for making fun of stuff's sake. And it's like, this was more of an era where it was more, I keep saying innocent, but it was more like, I don't know, rosier.
Yeah, I mean,
like
it was definitely, I was going to say it was more like kind-hearted, but maybe the comedy is. But like I said, there's nobody really likable in this movie, character-wise. I think they end up being likable because we like Phil Hartman and we like Arnold Schwarzenegger. But from like an actual dramatic standpoint, there's not a whole lot redeemable about them. It does go, the bomb scene. It does like okay, it's like this is we're just in like a Wile E. Coyote cartoon now.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if it's a bad thing. It's certainly, I'm sure most people would argue it's not a good thing, but it is what it is. It's strange that nothing like other stuff in the movie isn't quite that cartoonish.
They hold it off to like the end. It's almost like they make a decision when the bomb goes off. They're like, so are we going to kill everybody?
Yeah. What are we going to do? Is it going to be a bomb? It'll be a
or
good
is
joke.
it just going to be the hair and the soot everywhere? And they're like, well, we'll just go for that. And then
the jetpack
that sets
stuff
up
is
the jetpack
pretty
stuff.
extreme. I will say though, seeing him fly around like by skyscrapers and stuff, I was like, man, I would love to see like a contemporary Rocketeer movie.
Yeah, I know. You're immediately going there and thinking of that, which is would be fun if someone found the pie. Well, they did a kids. They revamped Rocketeer and they did like a little girl. Like it's a weird. I don't know. It's on Disney now, or it was on Disney, where it was like a little black girl who found the rocket pack or something.
The Rocketeer. We should do that one again.
We'll just do it again.
Do it again.
Yeah. Certainly the era.
Obviously it gets really outlandish with the
yeah.
He goes so high and it's like
he goes into the stratosphere and comes down and all that stuff. He's flying around with the kid. He knows how to do it all. He saves the day and all that stuff. And it's beating up the little people in it and stuff like that. They're all really attacking him. Don't you know the choreography? And he's like beating the shit out of them all. And then
it gets a little zany. Yeah. But I'm glad I finally got around to seeing it. Sure, obviously you remembered scenes or shots from it, from the way that was advertised with like. Him being
certainly
like,
the box
him being like pulled away
by
the crowd.
He's like in the box. He's like jumping at the camera. I remember that.
I will say though, when there's the scene where he's in one of the toy stores and the stand thing.
Oh, he's beating the stand.
I was like, that thing is so cool. I would have just brought that home for the kid.
Yeah, rip it out and bring it home.
Like the kid's room is already would be perfect in that room. He probably could have just asked one of the managers, like, "Hey, can I take this?"
Yeah, $50, $100, I'll pay you for the standee.
Because I was like, it was a really cool standee. Like, I would put that.
And it moved too.
I think it was like waving or something.
Yeah. So it's fun. So so that's another Arnold one we notched on our gun belt there. So we're clocking up the Arnolds on this podcast.
If you could have, Arnold doesn't have too many sequels other than Terminator, right? If you could have a sequel, and you can go whether it was back in the day or kind of a reboot with old Arnold from an Arnold movie, what one would you want to watch?
Ooh, it would be fun in the other world to have Commando 2 be Die Hard. That would be interesting. I don't think it'd be more of an Arnold movie, but that would be fun. And then I don't know what else would be cool. Let's see from his filmography. I don't know. I don't know what. I mean, the Terminators are great. I think they should have stopped after 2. I don't know. That's a good question.
Would have been cool to have another Predator movie with Arnold.
Yeah, if they put him in Predator 2, that would have been awesome.
Predator 3, and bring him back for another Predator.
Yeah, or if you say contemporary Arnold revisiting, I mean, you could even do this movie contemporary now. You can have him be a sequel where the kid's grown up.
Yeah, Hayden Christensen plays this.
Yeah, you can have him do that, and then you have. I mean, I was gonna say you can have the kid come back now because he's grown up probably, but
Raw deal.
You can have him
too.
We'll bring Darren McGavin
still
back
raw.
as well. Yeah, still
more
raw. He's
raw.
Still dealing. But having him like have to get the grandkids presents or something, and he's running around getting the grandkids presents. He's forgotten again, even though he's retired, sitting there watching like commercials for Cialis or whatever the hell, or Ozempic. How about you? Do you have anything?
I don't know. I think another Commando movie would have been cool.
Yeah.
Takes Alyssa Milano again. Like Taken. Just keeps on doing more Takens. Takes Radon Chong this time.
Yeah, both of them. Because they're family now. You know.
Yeah. I mean, I think Arnold in another Predator movie would have been awesome.
Yeah.
But
that would have been cool, man.
That would have been so cool.
Yeah. So as we wrap up here, Jingle All the Way.
Jingle All the Way.
Yep.
Christmas
Jingle
classic.
Bells, Jingle All the Way. Yeah. Another one for our belt of Christmas movies to wrap the season up.
Another one bites the dust.
Another one bites the dust. We're just singing everything in this. So we're at the end of the year, 2024. We did some fun movies this year. We didn't get as many as we have liked to, but we tried to stay as consistent as we could. We had a lot of double features with people. We had 2 Roy Scheiders. We had 2 Yardley Smiths. We had 2. We had 2.
Movies.
Did we have 2 Roy Scheiders? Maybe 2.
Yeah, you said that already.
Yeah, I did say Roy Scheider. Yeah. Who else have we had? I feel like we did another 2 Arnolds, and I forget what we did at the beginning of the year, out of the gate. What did we do in September? We didn't do anything in September. Did we do a anniversary episode? Was that Last Action Hero? Was our anniversary
Last
episode?
Action Hero was our anniversary episode.
Okay. And then before that, we did Jaws, and then we did Maximum Overdrive. We did Texas.
52
we did
Pickup. I don't know if we did anything before 52 Pickup.
What was the other movie we did for Halloween aside from Maximum Overdrive?
American Werewolf in London.
American Werewolf in London. We did that. And then I forget. Yeah, did we do anything before? Maybe we didn't do anything before 52 Pickup. Maybe that's how we cranked the year open.
Late. I think we got late. We went in late.
Yeah. Running late. We'll try to think of some ones for the 2025 season.
Yeah, maybe Junior.
Yeah. Do Junior. Do Hercules in New York. We'll do Pumpin' Iron. All the favorites. You know, we'll do all the. Maybe we'll hit a Sinbad movie up. Do a Tim Allen movie. Who knows? There's a lot of movies from this era and before we can certainly do that would be fun. And we have still people who are listening who are suggesting things. We just had somebody suggest to us the Dino De Laurentiis King Kong movie, which was a big favorite of mine.
Which has always been on our list. We just have never gotten around to it.
I don't know if I can watch it now. I'm just such a lightheart, as I talked about in the Texas episode. Even though he's animatronic, I don't know if I want to see him get gunned down by helicopters at the end. I'll be crying my eyes out.
There's also like there's like the TV cut's different.
Well, we have the TV cut because one of our friends who listened to the show sent us the TV cut. It's like an epic, and I haven't watched it yet. I'm sorry out there. But we what's his name? Begins with a W. He sent it to us. I'm so sorry. I'm forgetting your name right now. I'm blanking. But he sent us the TV cut, and it's like notorious because it has all this extra footage in it. So that would be fun to do. And talk about King Kong and talk about the original and, you know, all that stuff. That would be animatronics. That's right in our alley. Jeff Bridges with sporting the beard. You know, I always thought he had the awesomest hair and beard I've ever seen from that movie. And then how can we not forget about Jessica Lange in that movie?
Charles Grodin
playing the ass. I met Charles Grodin. Nice guy.
Right? Really?
I didn't realize how old. Yeah, he was nice. I mean, he wasn't nice in the movie. But it was interesting because you don't realize how old people are when they're doing these movies. But then when I met him in the 2000s, he was elderly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, wow, it's because he was in his 40s or 50s when he's doing all these movies. And the other guy in the movie's amazing, too, the black actor who's the only survivor from when the log incident. And then remember when he's walking back and they're like, anybody else? And he gives like the thumbs down. As a kid, I was like, whoa. But yeah, that's maybe one we should put on the list.
Put it on the list.
Put it
We
on the
actually
list.
do have a list. Maybe we should look at the list.
Yeah. We talked about DuckTales the movie.
We probably can check a lot of movies off the list.
I was always pitching Care Bears the movie, or like the there's some weird like the Jetsons movie, like those era of the cartoon movies where they're throwing in like Tiffany as the voice of Judy Jetson, and they were like, again, the era of the DuckTales movie where they're just introducing computer animation into stuff. So you're getting that precursor of stuff where there's elements of it that you could tell is done in the computer, like a 3D kind of rendering. All that stuff. Well, that's not in Care Bears, but Care Bears was really messed up when we were little. So, oh my, Blake, your Alexa's talking to us. Sorry, Alexa doesn't have an answer for that.
Sorry,
so
I don't
anyway,
know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah, sorry. She's like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. So anyway, wrapping up, I think we had a good year, and certainly I think we should go down the alley and do some left-hand turns that people may like in this, or stuff that people wouldn't think of in the following season. What do you have? What are your hopes and dreams for 2025? Maybe we can get a licensing deal with Old Smuggler. Maybe they can sponsor the show, the Old Smuggler whiskey. The times we had with the Old Smuggler, because it was a cheap whiskey and you can get it by the handle. So when Blake would come sleep over post-college, I'd always be like, hey, we're going to have a drink and let's get something affordable. So we would get the Old Smuggler, and then we'd always say afterward, it smuggled our brain away. Because the next day we were so messed up from that, just like drinking hooch.
Smuggler.
Yeah, the Old Smuggler.
It's a slasher movie I'm working on.
The Old Smuggler. It's a good one. Sounds good.
I've been smuggled.
Yeah, it's a Christmas movie. So anyway, tell everybody what you got going on.
Still working on the Scored to Death documentary. It's unfortunately going slower than I would have liked, but we're still working on it. It's still happening. It will be done. Of course, you can always support the Scored to Death documentary by going to scoredtodeath.bandcamp.com and purchasing a copy of the Scored to Death album on mystery colored vinyl or on CD, both limited edition. That is a compilation of horror movie themes covered exclusively for the album by 12 fantastic artists, ranging from everyone from Alan Howarth and Holly Amber Church to the band Voyager 3 and Anima Morte, Steve Moore, Richard Christie. And, of course, the Scored to Death books are available on Amazon or from other book retailers, or also at scoredtodeath.bandcamp.com. I put them on there too in the merch section. And I think that's it. What about you?
I got my 2 books, Blood in the Streets and Morse P.I., The Men from Ice House 4, which are available on Amazon, an ebook, audiobook, and paperback. And writing another one now. I'll get it done one of these days. And I've been doing some side acting and stuff like that. So that could be cool coming up. I was in a movie with Jeremy London. Very fun guy. And, just doing some stuff on the side. You could check YouTube or my pages. We're both on Facebook. We're both on Instagram. We're on X or Twitter. Blake, you're on Blue Sky.
Yeah, I'm kind of phasing out Twitter, but you can find me on Blue Sky.
Nice. I'm still on Twitter, although I don't really go on much. You can probably get me more on Facebook or Instagram. And then what else? We have our regular site, Saturday Night Movie Sleepovers. And you can find us, at either our personal pages or at Saturday Night Movie Sleepovers.
And
send us.
Feel free, if you have a minute, to go to the Apple iTunes and leave us a review.
Yeah, tell everybody what you like, you don't like. So, everybody, have yourself a merry little Christmas, and we hope all your dreams come true, and your hearts stay warm and wise. And to be safe out there, have a fun time, and before you know it, we'll be back in the new year, kicking in the door, waving the 4-4, and getting everybody with a new podcast. So happy holidays, have fun, raise a drink or whatever you do, and just hope you enjoy yourself with your friends and family and are able to take some time off and just relax, right? That's what we need to do these days, just relax. So, all right, until next time.
Later.